April 14th council workshop meeting. Ms. Wall, will you please read the appropriate opening statement?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this workshop meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on January 2, 2009, by the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Asbury Park Press, Tri-Town News, and Star Ledger for publication on January 2, 2009, by the filing a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on January 2, 2009. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with 3 emergency exits for your safety. The locations are as follows: upon exiting the meeting room, to the rear they are to immediate left and immediate right, and at the front of the meeting room at the left of the dais. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Roll call: Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Here.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Mr. Memolo is on vacation.
Mayor Walsh?
Yeah, he's here. Ms. Slager, I believe we have reason to go into executive session.
Yes, Mayor. Land acquisition, litigation, Majestic and Fountains, personnel, statutory, and unclassifieds.
What was that list, ma'am?
Land acquisition, litigation, personnel. Litigation is on Majestic and Fountains, and personnel is on statutory and unclassified employees.
Okay. Can I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
So moved.
Second.
Would you please read the executive session resolution?
Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of the meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 in executive session. Whereas at this time the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items previously listed, and that the governing body will reconvene in public session thereafter.
We already have a motion in a second. Would you give us a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. For the benefit of the public, we will return approximately 7:30. With that, I'd like to reopen the meeting. This is the April 14th council workshop meeting. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you all please remain standing for a moment of silence for our troops that are fighting all over this world to provide the freedom which we enjoy. Have some proclamations that I need to read. April 19th, 2009 is Support Our Troops Day. Whereas the people of Howell Township support the New Jersey National Guard and Reserve in the strongest possible terms, are immensely proud of their accomplishments, and are extremely grateful for their services to the states and to the nation over the years. And whereas the highest American tradition, the patriotic men and women of the Guard and Reserve serve voluntarily in an honorable and vital profession by responding to their community and their country in time of need. And where it is right and proper that we set aside time to honor these fine men and women for their sacrifices they make for every one of us. And whereas the New Jersey National Guard State Family Readiness Council is honoring them with a concert by the Blauenberg Band at the National Guard Armory in Lawrenceville on Support Our Troops Day on Sunday, April 19, 2009. Now therefore I, Robert F. Walsh, Mayor of the Township of Howell, do hereby proclaim April 19, 2009, Support Our Troops Day in honor and appreciation of those honorable service members. May God be with them. April 19th also is the Day of Remembrance, April 19th through April 26th of 2009. Whereas the Holocaust was the state-sponsored systematic persecution and annihilation of European Jewry by Nazi Germany and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945. Jews were the primary victims. 6 million were murdered. Gypsies, the handicapped, and Poles were also targeted for destruction or decimation for racial, ethnic, or national reasons. Millions more, including homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses, Soviet prisoners of war, and political dissidents, also suffered grievous oppression and death under Nazi tyranny. And whereas the history of the Holocaust offers an opportunity to reflect on the moral responsibility of individuals, societies, and governments, and whereas we, the people of the Township of Howell, should always remember the terrible events of the Holocaust and remain vigilant against hatred, persecution, and tyranny. Whereas we, the people of the Township of Howell, should actively rededicate ourselves to the principles of individual freedom in a just society. And whereas the days of remembrance have been set aside for the people of the Township of Howell to remember the victims of the Holocaust, as well as to reflect on the need for the respect of all peoples. And whereas pursuant to the Act of Congress, Public Law 96-388, October 7th of 1980, the United States Holocaust Memorial Council designates the days of remembrance of the victims of the Holocaust to be Sunday, April 19th through Sunday, April 26, 2009, including the Day of Remembrance known as Yom HaShoah, April 21st. Now therefore I, Robert F. Walsh, Mayor of the Township of Howell, do hereby proclaim the week of April 19th through April 26, 2009 as days of remembrance in the memory of victims of the Holocaust and in honor of the survivors as well as the rescuer and liberators, and further proclaim that we, as citizens of the Township of Howell, should strive to overcome intolerance and indifference through learning and remembrance. For any who have not been to the Holocaust Museum down in Washington, D.C., I had the pleasure of going there not too long ago. I have a daughter down there in college, and it was one of the most memorable things I've ever done in the United States. And I've been around our country a few times, but going to the Holocaust Museum really took me back. And it is a special place. I would advise any to go if they ever get the opportunity. Another proclamation for Arbor Day. Whereas in 1949, the legislature set aside the last Friday of April as Arbor Day to promote the planting of trees and to encourage the protection of our forests from fires and pests that destroy the beauty and usefulness of our woodlands. And whereas half of New Jersey's total land area is forested or tree covered. And whereas trees play an important role in the ecosystem in which we live, and trees reduce the emission of our precious topsoil caused by wind and water, clean the air we breathe and the water we drink, produce oxygen, provide habitat for birds and wildlife, and reduce heating and cooling costs by moderating temperature. And whereas trees are a renewable source, giving us paper for fine literature, wood for homes, fuel for fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees provide increased property value, enhanced economic viability, and pleasing aesthetic qualities along streets and properties in municipalities. And whereas tree planting in yards and farms, in schoolyards and parks, and along streets and highways creates an enduring heritage for generations that follow. Now therefore be resolved that I, Robert F. Walsh, Mayor of Howell Township, do hereby proclaim April 24, 2009 as Arbor Day in the community of Howell Township, and urge all citizens to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, to support our township's urban forestry program. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. And the last proclamation is National Donate Life Month, which is April. Whereas every human life has matchless value, and during National Donate Life Month, we reaffirm our commitment to raising awareness about organ donations and the importance of making the decision to donate. We also express our appreciation to those that have donated organs, tissue, and marrow. And whereas over 100,000 Americans, over 4,500 in New Jersey, are currently on the waiting list for an organ transplant, thousands more need life-enhancing tissue transplants. All Howell Township residents are urged to register with the state's donor registry. Say yes to organ and tissue donation on their driver's license, and share their decision with family and friends. By taking these steps, Howell Township residents can help save lives. And whereas the kindness and generosity of organ donors reflect the compassionate spirit of our township. And whereas during National Donate Life Month, we celebrate the life-saving work of medical professionals and researchers, and the many others whose actions reflect our commitment to a brighter tomorrow. Now therefore I, Robert F. Walsh, Mayor of the Township of Howell, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2009 as Donate Life Month, and call upon healthcare professionals, volunteers, educators, government agencies, faith-based and community groups, and private organizations to help raise awareness of the urgent need for organ and tissue donors throughout Howell Township. Any other proclamations? I'm a little winded.
That's it, Mayor.
Thank you very much. This time I'd like to ask the manager and any professionals, do they have any reports for us?
No, sir.
Ms. Keenan? Mr. Filiaccio?
Oh, you know what, actually, I would like to just let you know that I did have a meeting with the dog committee. And
wow.
And I believe that you said you wanted something, or were looking for something, or an update, or what have you, just so you know, it has not fallen by the wayside. Your concerned citizens have been hard at work and have come up with some great ideas, great plans, and I actually reached out to Wendell Nance, who's on the zoning board, to sit down with him and a member from CME and go over some zoning issues that may come up. But it's definitely a work in progress, and we'll have something for you, hopefully within the next 30 to 60 days.
Okay, because some people have asked. So 60 days, I feel comfortable we'll at least be able to discuss it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Anybody? Councilman Howell?
No, I just have one thing. You had the manager forward to me in a packet a letter that we received from Akron, New Jersey, concerning Assembly Bill 3709 for a statewide mandate to fluoridate the public water supply. I mean, I've been in the water business for about 20 years, and I've heard both sides of the argument, but I think the most compelling argument is something that was also stated in this letter, that requiring water companies to put fluoride in the water doesn't give people a choice whether they want to be taking this toxic substance or not. It's forced on them. The bigger issue, though, is that really only 3% of the water that would be treated with fluoride would be ingested. The other 97% of the water would be going back into the aquifers and contaminating the ground. So I would ask, and I'll let everybody else look at this letter, but I would ask that we do a reso against Assembly Bill 3709. That's it.
Anything on that? Councilwoman Clark?
No, I just have two things.
Okay, anything on that
I have
particular
nothing.
issue?
Is our water fluoridated?
No,
New Jersey Americans not?
I don't believe so. It's not mandated by the state to do it. But now the state wants to mandate that all the water supplies. It's going to wind up leading to hundreds of millions of dollars in upgrades for water companies, which is going to mean your water bill is going to go up substantially.
Additional costs on the residents?
Oh, absolutely.
I would support that resolution.
I would just like the opportunity to look at Assembly Bill in a little depth, and next time when we have the resolution, I'm not going to give my position either way at this point, but I certainly want to take a look at it.
I would be fine with your recommendation, Councilman Howell. I wouldn't know exactly what I was reading about fluoridating the water, so I would have to take somebody else's opinion on it anyway, so might as well be yours this evening, sir. Councilwoman Clark?
I just want to encourage anyone who is interested. We have the Howell Township Clean Communities and National Youth Service Day. It is on April 25th, and it's the 5th Annual Community Cleanup Day. It's at the Public Works Building at 9 o'clock. It's my son's birthday. I'm hoping to get there, but I'm not so sure. That's going to be top of a 4-year-old's list. But I think it's a wonderful program, and I just encourage anyone to go out and take advantage of this. I had questions about the, I don't see on our agenda anything about the Strategic Budget Review Task Force. I was curious if you could speak about that.
Certainly. The CFO and I are getting ready to finalize our recommendations. I know that you had asked in a 30-day time frame, but we will have that for you for the next meeting.
Okay.
We had received the packet from Monmouth County regarding their strategic planning committee, and so we're going over that, and we'll be giving you those recommendations next meeting.
Okay. Another question, just point of reference for me. I'm looking at our agenda, still getting my feet wet, but I'm just curious, when we're going through the resolutions, I'm looking through page 1 through 4, and those are all resolutions in which action's not being taken.
Right.
This evening,
well, this is a work.
Is there a notice?
No, there's a workshop meeting. So what we're doing is, like, if you have any questions prior to, I know sometimes the council feels that they don't see things.
No, I think it's a great idea. I'm just
So,
wanting to make sure that I was clear.
That's it. The ones with the
because it's a lot to
asterisk
get
and
through.
right, 7A7 we are going to take action on, and there's not an asterisk on that. So if you want to just add that to the list. The same thing with the ordinances. Obviously, the ordinances are listed, but their public hearing and adoption is scheduled for April 28th.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So you know what's coming.
That's good.
Deputy Mayor? I would like to bring up, there's also Autism Awareness Month, having an autistic child. It's kind of a special month for me. A lot of things going on. There'll be a fundraiser at Howell Bowling Lanes. Me personally, with some dear friends of mine, have a golf outing every year. They'll be having on June 8th, I believe. And we give all the money back to either the Howell Board of Education and a couple of charities that deal specifically with autism. The community, Howell Township, has been outstanding taking care of their special needs children. This community goes above and beyond. It's one of the major reasons that we decided to come here. It definitely was one of the deciding factors on staying here. And I can tell you from a lot of other people with autistic children that have moved to Howell Township, it's because of the education, and it's because of the people in Howell Township and all they do for the children with special needs. I'd like to thank all of you in Howell Township and ask you to keep it in your mind this month. If there's a lot of things going on over the next month and a half to help others, and come out, enjoy yourself, have some fun, and pitch in. I know you do all the time. So I'd love to have any of you at my golf outing. It's a pretty good time. I get driven home. So I also have one other question here. I noticed that we're eligible for a $463,000 in funding with an energy grant. What is that exactly? You had mentioned it before. But
This was a direct formula from the department. It went through the Department of Energy. It's part of the America Recovery Act and for the stimulus package. So So there are some parameters that are on the Department of Energy. I've been listening to there was a webcast, like a 1-hour webcast, but unfortunately I can't sit for 1 hour and listen. So I've been listening to it over the last couple days to find out exactly what we need to do. The application has to be filled out, I believe it's sometime in June. It has to be done. So we'll be meeting with the Citizens Advisory Committee. It's similar, very similar to a community development block grant. So we'll be going over some ideas to hopefully get funded for. But it's a direct formula grant, so there's no matching funds. It's the $463,000 is ours, and we don't have to put any money up. So we'll be looking to do some very innovative and hopefully some cutting edge things.
I believe also that you've applied for some other grants having to do with the stimulus package that
Yes.
came out over the last couple of weeks.
That's correct. We've applied for some money for the traffic signal at Bonham, the Bonham track, and I've applied to the U.S. Conference of Mayors for sewering Route 9 North.
I ran to Senator Singer too, and Jim, he told me you asked him for money.
I
too.
did. I called his office, and it doesn't hurt. I just called and asked him if he had any money that was laying around that he would like to give Howell Township. That didn't go over real well, but, I didn't get a yes, but he said he'll call me if he finds any. I also spoke to Assemblyman Malone and Assemblyman Dancer, not to forget us. So,
I don't think they forgot us.
no,
Well, Senator Singer told me he was human.
that's it.
Anything else? Okay, at this time, I'd like to open the meeting to the public. See if anybody from the public would like to speak on any of the items that we are taking action on this evening. Come on up, Mrs. Dixon.
No, there's nothing in the resolutions that we,
No, this is just on the consent agenda items, which are 7A7 and then 7A19 through 28.
Just things we are taking action on tonight.
okay.
I'm sure you'll find something, Mrs. Dixon. I had
I
faith
would
in
never
you.
disappoint you,
I had faith in you, dear.
nor would I disappoint the citizens of Howell.
I had faith in you.
Good evening, Barbara Dixell, the Villages, Freehold. Hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. Okay, 7A, 23, 24, 25.
Hold on 1 second, please. I'd like to go to the backup if I could. 23, 24, 25.
Yes.
Okay, Mrs. Dixon, go ahead.
My question is, I see Earl Asphalt here as the company. Don't we do our own in-house paving, and don't we have a paver that we bought and paid a lot of money for? Why do I see Earl Asphalt Company repaving Squonkam Yellowbrook?
No, we do not do our own paving of the roads. The paver that we have is for small items, like we do some parking lots and some other things. We do not pave roads. We do pothole repairs, we do patchwork, but we don't pave our roads.
They don't pave all the roads that they've been doing up and down these roads, and who's been doing them?
Earl Asphalt.
That's the first time I've heard that. All right.
Mrs.
Yeah,
Dixon,
right,
so
in
you
this
know,
case, it's Earl Asphalt, but whoever wins the bid.
it goes out to bid and whoever.
Okay. Okay, 7A 26.
7A 26.
26. I would say there's something that says professional engineering services and continued sampling and reporting activities at PAL facility. What do you call continued sampling? Is there any contamination on this site?
Yeah, we had an underground storage tank there, And this money now is for additional coordination and reporting requirements that are specified in the directive from the DEP.
The DEP, okay, so
Yes.
they're aware now that there was.
Oh, absolutely.
That.
We're working
okay.
with the DEP.
And this is not considered to be any Superfund site or
No, it is
anything
not.
else, okay. That's not. Okay, and the last one does not have a number, but it's resolution authorizes use of 2009 state coup contracts. What is this?
Okay, no, it's 7A27.
Okay, I don't have a number on this.
This allows us, oh, okay. This allows us to purchase the items from the approved New Jersey state contracts, the Monmouth County Co-op and the Stafford Township Co-op. It just allows for the township to be able to purchase off those contracts.
Purchase what?
Anything. What happens is, for example, New Jersey, the state of New Jersey goes out and bids on certain items.
Okay,
And then they provide a list.
right.
But the work's already been done. The bid has already been done by the
Okay.
state, so we don't have to redo it. We would just purchase from one of the approved contractors, for example, one of the approved vendors from the state.
Okay. All right, and then the only thing I have to ask you is, we're on your discussion items, 7C4, 7C5, and 6. When you get to them, can you please give us an explanation, since you're not going to do that? And also introduction of ordinances 9A1. Before anything gets, whatever introduction, just give us a detailed explanation in plain, simple language like C-Spot Run. Okay,
That's
please.
fine.
Thank you.
Hold on, I want to write this down.
C-Spot Run.
I don't want
That's
to be
right.
yelled at.
I like that.
I want to write this down.
Okay, take my pen.
7C4
7C4, 5,
and
6.
6.
And then the last one is 9A1, so when you get to all of these things, just please give us a full explanation before you vote on them, because it's a workshop meeting and we don't get to talk until everyone's been voted on and so on and so forth.
We're not voting,
We're not voting
We're not
tonight.
voting on that tonight.
not voting on any of those.
But
It's just discussion.
But when you have a discussion, just to please give us,
We're going to have a little discussion about
Okay.
it. There's some questions we'd like to ask too, Mrs. Dixon.
Okay.
So maybe that will fill you in.
okay, like I say, when you get to it, just give us a full explanation. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll do the best we can, ma'am. Ms. Weingruber?
Suzanne Weingruber, 25 Princeton Drive. I realize this is the agenda that was on the website, and there are add-ons from time to time. The township attorney has made a representation that there's another motion. Is that correct?
I'm not that intelligent.
There is no motion on. I actually, do you want to tell me what you're speaking to?
Well, I will tell you that I have in writing that there was a representation that there's a motion on to rescind my removal from Mercer, and I do not want to cost the town money. We have been, my son, my attorney, has been speaking with you. You made a representation to him, which is why we didn't go into court today, to get a restraining order.
Do you have actually the email that I sent to your son? Because it indicates that I said that I would ask the council to rescind it.
So, does the council plan on rescinding the motion tonight?
At this point, we're supposed to be talking about the
consent
Okay,
consent.
but I just see that there's a motion, and if you're in public, because the first representation is it could wait to the 28th. I have a meeting tomorrow, and I did congratulate Ms. Clark on her integrity, and I know she mentioned the word notice, which is pervasive throughout all legal fields of law. And by now, you are aware of the sewage authority law. Plus, you are aware that there has been constructive as well as actual notice to the clerk of my residency. I really don't want to cost the taxpayers any money, but on the other hand, I thought we had some type of agreement that this was going to be acted on tonight, because if not, I unfortunately have to go into court
Mayor,
tomorrow.
this is not
Yeah,
the time
Okay.
on the agenda to
Yeah,
speak to this.
I just wanted to know if there was an add-on motion.
We're going to have discussions later on. What we discuss will be up to the governing body then. Thank you, Mrs. Weingruber. Anybody else on consent agenda items? She's okay.
Mr. Mayor, good evening. Mayors of the council, good evening. David Schultz, 149 Yellowbrook Road, Farmingdale, New Jersey. Mr. Mayor, with your permission, may I present the following slips of paper to the council through, I believe, the manager?
Is this on the consent agenda items?
I believe it is. 7A19.
Yes, it
I'll be
is.
very
Oh,
brief.
yes, absolutely.
I'll be very brief.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is.
I'll be
Yes,
very
sir.
brief.
Absolutely.
Okay.
7A19 is on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, all the slips of paper say the same thing. commonsensenewjersey.org. Councilwoman Clark, once again, I applaud you for introducing the idea of a resolution against the Council of Affordable Housing's policies. Particularly, I don't want to politicize the Council of Affordable Housing policies. I think that's wrong. I really think that the people and the council both agree that we want to see affordable housing, but we're afraid of what's going to happen to our town, our county, our state, planning policies, social programs, social welfare. Seems to me as though the Council of Affordable Housing's gotten very powerful. I've read your proposed resolution. I think it's fine. I ask that you take a look at this commonsensenewjersey.org website and possibly suggest to the people of your town to go onto their website and, if they so choose, go and sign their petition. That's all I have for you tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ness. Come on up.
All right. Terry Van Ness, 3208 Liberty Lane, Wall Township, New Jersey. I'll only take a minute of your time. I wanted to come to the council and to say something good. Most of the time,
Hold on.
I do, and it's most of the time I really do, and that's why I came tonight. Most of the time, anybody, we always come up here and complain, but I have to tell you that your staff that you have in this township is absolutely outstanding. And I'm sorry Mr. Nunziato is not here tonight. He doesn't even, and he didn't put me up to it. I promise you that. Mrs. Schlegel, we've had an ongoing issue for the past 2.5 years. We have worked.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pull it closer.
Okay, we've worked with the engineering department, the building department, Ms. Schlegel, the land use officer, and I can't tell you, I do this as a business every day, and I can't tell you what an outstanding staff you've had. They have been helpful beyond belief. They are extremely knowledgeable. They always answer phone calls. They will spend any time that, at least as a hopefully soon resident of Howell Township, well, hopefully within the next year, if my builder's on time. It's just, I was just amazed. And so I have to tell you, thank you for, and they should be absolutely commended because they do a wonderful, wonderful job. And so that's what I wanted to come and say, because you know what, we never take the time to say thank you, and we should.
I'm not sure Ms. Naziano didn't put her up to that.
No, he did.
I will pass that along to the appropriate departments. He's actually on furlough.
Is he?
Yes, he is.
I just,
And
if I could, Mr.
From the
Mayor.
ladies in the office to,
Stay down.
from,
Stay here.
stay here, you
I
want to
want to chat with you for a little bit.
You know what? From the ladies in the front office to all of the professionals to everybody that we've dealt with, and I'm sure now when we move on to with the building department, I'm convinced we'll have the same experience. It's just really been a pleasure, and we're really looking forward to coming to Howell.
You had me at hello, man.
I'm not, and that's what I came to tell you tonight. All right.
I
thank
just
you.
want
Have a
to
good
tell
evening.
you personally, thank you so much. I've been up here a very short time, and
Nobody-
I haven't heard anything very good. But I do think that I have heard from so many people in this town who have recent experience with Howell and have had the same thing, said, you know, you guys there's furloughs going on, people are answering the phone calls, people are stepping up to the plate, and I've heard it from so many different sources. So I want to thank you so much for coming, because I know, it's easy to drive here when you're complaining because you got something to do.
That's right.
But to come here, take time out of your day, and say that means so much, I think, to the workers, and I just want to appreciate it very much.
All of you should be very proud of them.
We are.
And be very
Ma'am, you
proud
can't
of
speak unless you speak into the mic.
You should all be very, very, very proud of them.
Thank you.
Yeah, very proud.
I appreciate you coming here.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we got to make sure about that.
And you were very cordial. I was up here a couple of years ago when you were first here, and it was a very difficult situation. Yeah, it was a very difficult situation. I'm glad it's working out to your satisfaction. Well, I mean, it's going in the right direction.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
good luck. Anybody else from the public? No? I'd like to close the public portion of the meeting. Council, let's talk about some of these resolutions we're going to take action on, the ordinances. Any questions, anything you'd like to ask of the professionals?
Now we're on the resos, right?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
start with the resolutions. 7828 is one that I brought up. I think we need to oppose this bill, letting them make senior housing into... Do we need to read a statement?
It's not on that, no, it's not on the agenda. It was added, is
It
that
was an add
correct?
out for
Yeah,
us.
you're going to, when you're ready, you're going to go into regular session, add it to the agenda.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Woolman,
Yes,
let's go into regular session.
excellent. We need a motion in a second.
Need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
We
Roll
need a
call.
roll call.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton? Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Seven eight 28, would you explain it to us, Ms. Slade?
Yes, Mayor, this was a resolution in opposition to Senate Bill Number 5-2577 and Assembly Bill Number A3772, known as the Age Restricted Housing Conversion Bill. If you had read recently in the news that there's a bill that allows a developer under certain circumstances outside the control of the township to convert an approved age-restricted development into a market-rate housing project. This bill is opposing that move. It is right now on the governor's desk, so you're going to urge the governor to veto the bill.
It's been approved by the Senate and the House already?
Yes.
And so if this is passed, any development that we have approved in our community for age-restricted development will be convertible to,
If they have not taken any, the way I understand it is if they haven't sold a unit or taken any money, towards the unit. So if you have a senior development that's been approved but has not yet sold anything.
okay, and we have a lot of those, or we have a handful, at least 2 or 3 since I was on the planning board, I believe.
I want to
believe
say
there's
about
two.
3?
I would say, I think there's about 3.
Is there pursuant to, if this was passed, do they have to have some showing? It looks like there has to be some showing the developer has to have in order to, I absolutely
There's some
100% agree
there's some
with that.
requirements that they have to meet. I know there was, I don't know if Ms.
that-
Kingdon is more familiar with it, but there were some things like recreational areas that would have to be developed, parking, because the numbers would change.
Mm-hmm.
This has happened in the past in this
other
state,
town.
correct? I know there's communities in, well, we have one, right? Isn't the Windmill Club, wasn't that age restricted and then no longer age restricted, or am I wrong about that?
I'm not,
No.
I don't
know there's
know
a there's
about
a
that.
there's a community in
Raintree.
Raintree and
definitely
Freehold.
was an age-restricted community, and then it became, through the courts, it became where families could move in there. I moved in there in 1990. I used to have some of the seniors yelling at me as I was walking around with my dog and my infant. It was okay, though. We ended up getting along pretty well.
So this would allow projects which have not taken into consideration things like school infrastructure, resources such as, would then become projects which needed those resources.
That's correct.
Well, I'm all for doing a resolution to the governor opposing this.
I would agree with you, Mr. Mayor.
You have your direction?
Well, it's on, and you were going to add it on. Did they make a motion to add it on yet?
I'll move to add it on.
And I would second it.
Roll call, Mayor?
Let's go.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes.
Okay. I would make a motion to approve it. Do I have to do a specific resolution number, 09145?
Will that motion include all the resolutions, 7A7 and then the 19 through 28?
Sure. Unless there are some questions.
Well, we need 7/8/20, we need to do a separate vote on unless we know who we're going to appoint.
Okay.
Okay?
You
We do.
You do have,
It's in the resolution.
It is in the resolution?
yes, it is.
Okay, I didn't see that. Who are we appointing? I really didn't see it. I was looking for it before.
Was that Mr. Allison?
Yes.
Okay, that's part of the resolution. Yes.
Okay. I'm fine
That's
with that.
what we're talking about right now. There was a question about the authorization of appointment of township auditor for the year of 2009, and that's what we're discussing right now.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Well, no, Mayor, I still have questions on, I have a question on 7/8/26.
Well, why don't I, since the motion's out there, why don't I just make a motion for resolution, the add-on resolution that we just discussed regarding the state bill and the assembly bill?
But I think we have to approve them all at once.
No, we don't.
Usually we do.
We don't have to.
Well, we'll do a little
second it.
different
She
tonight.
seconded. Give me a roll call on 7/8/28.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yep.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Councilman Howe, you got questions on 7/8/26?
I just want to make sure that this went out to bid to all 3 of the engineering firms that we have.
Yeah, actually, this contract was started by Birdsall Engineering, and they have been doing the remediation all along.
Okay.
So they're continuing just to do the additional reporting.
And the length of the contract?
The length of the contract? I don't think there was a length. It was just for the additional reporting to the DEP. And to follow the directive of the DEP.
And this is just specifically for the sampling, is it just the lead in the, or?
No, it's an underground storage tank.
Okay.
There are certain reporting requirements that you have to do, and that's what this is for.
Anybody else?
I had a question about 7A21, the 2009 recycling grant, our grant coordinator.
Actually, this is through the recycling. Mr. Filiatro can explain this.
Okay.
This is a new resolution, and it's actually part of the landfill tipping fees. That it's a tax on the landfill tipping fees, and we get it every year, provided we do the resolution. It's based on how much we recycle, and then the grant money comes in at the end of the year, depending on the amount of tonnage and everything that we do recycle. We do a report. So this is just our annual resolution to apply for that and to participate in the program.
Okay, and once at the end of the year, based upon the tonnage, we will be eligible for that grant once again.
That's correct.
And historically, have we gotten that grant?
Yes, we have. It ranges in the last couple of years. It ranges somewhere in the $20,000 range.
Okay, and there's no thought of cutting that.
Well, I mean, we're recycling anyway. So
no, I think it's a great.
It's an additional $20,000 to do what we're already doing.
Oh no! I was not saying we should cut requesting. I was just wondering if there's if there's any discussion about. Certainly, we should apply for any grant which gives us any revenue. I'm just wondering if there's any thought of this being cut from.
No, it's a dedicated tax on those who take garbage to the landfill. There's a recycling tax, and that gets divvied up to the towns based on the recycling that we do.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to mention the name of the auditor you had requested. It's Hutchins, Farrell, Meyer, and Allison.
Anything else? So can I get a motion to approve 7A7, 19 through 27?
I make a motion.
Second.
A roll call, please, Ms. Woolman.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes, but Mayor, can we add 7B1 at this time?
I just was going to make note that there is one application, so if you wanted to...
I didn't see the
Okay, there is one application.
Okay, we'll do that We'll do that next.
I'll
Let's
do
just
that.
continue to vote.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. 7B1, we have to accept the resignation of the Lake Restoration Committee member. And we have an application in here for, like the...
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we accept the resignation and thank Mr. Richard Alter for his service, and that we appoint Mr. Sam Serenov of 38 East 5th Street to the open position.
As far as I'm concerned, welcome. Do I have a second?
I would second it.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Okay.
Now, I don't want to confuse things. I know Mrs. Dixell had a question. Was that in the 7As? I had so many marks on my paper. 7Cs. Was it in the 7Cs? I know the hotel. But I just want to make sure she...
Mrs. Dixell, you had a question on...
I think once you start the discussion, you will probably answer Mrs. Dixell's questions. She just wanted a little more explanation, so when you start your discussion, you'll be answering those questions.
Okay.
Mayor, before we start the 7Cs, I'd like to make a motion that we close the public
Yeah.
Regular session.
I would second that.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton? Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Ms. Wilman, where do you want me going next?
7C1.
Discussion on zone changes.
Yes,
Councilor
Mayor,
Spruce.
Mayor, you have in front of you, we had, there are two requests for zone change that went to our professional planner, and you have the reports in front of you.
Which one do you want to start with?
Why don't we start with the first one that I turned to here? The subject site is, looked like Squonkam Yellowbrook Road, is that correct?
Yes, sir. The one is on the corner of Route 524 and 524A.
What are they requesting? I see it's ARE2 to a non-residential classification for the purpose of permitting flex office building development.
They're requesting that it be changed from ARE2 to SED, or SED1.
Exactly what would allow to be built if it was SED or SED1?
I don't have the paper in front of me.
1 acre lot frontage. 8 developable lots for non-residential development. Non-residential development. Light manufacturing. Well, it says here from our plan, the master plan includes 2 industrial zones, the special economic development office park, both would permit light manufacturing, office and research and warehousing use in appropriate locations. This is just a brief little synopsis here.
Mayor, the SED zone presently allows for as permitted uses offices, financial institutions, medical centers, warehousing and distribution, assembly and packaging, utility uses, agriculture, forestry, and agricultural services, manufacturing food and kindred products, manufacturing textile products, apparel, similar finished products made from fabrics, lumber, wood products, furniture and fixtures, paper and allied products, printing and publishing, leather products, manufacturing of stone, glass, clay, and concrete products, fabricated medical products, metal products, manufacturing of electronic and electrical equipment, photographic equipment, medical optical goods, watches and clocks, construction. What the proposed rezone entails, or what they're looking for, is flex office building development.
And if I could, for just a point of reference, the ability for a developer send a request to Howell Township to ask to have an area zoned, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, that request goes to Howell Township Council and Mayor for us to consider, correct?
Right.
Okay.
What the process is that my office receives a letter requesting a zone change. At that point, the request has gone to the planner. We require a $1,000 fee to look at for each zone change by ordinance.
Okay.
The developer can go before the zoning board of adjustment Or they can petition the
Right,
council
I'm
and say, listen, we'd like you to rezone this, and here's why.
And what was done in this situation was, once the application, or once the request was made, then the township township planner took a look at it and presented us with a report. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And the report is something that is very detailed, it's very thorough. I think we've all had a chance to look at it, but we just received it probably yesterday, late yesterday. I know I was able to pull it up on my computer today, but
That's correct.
okay.
Mayor, if I may, just briefly, my name's Frank Accusano, I'm an attorney. I represent them. If there's any questions.
Thank you. No problem.
So can I, Mr. Mayor, can I ask some questions? Our planner has done an analysis of the, and now what do we get, just a request? What exactly did the interested developer submit that our planner was then able to review?
What I reviewed was a letter directed to the township manager, and it's my understanding that at some point there was a letter to the zoning board saying, well, we're submitting a request to you. I don't think any action was taken at that level. It then came back to the township manager, and I think in the past what has happened is either a developer has gone to the zoning board and has not gotten their approval, or a developer and his attorney has gone to the council and petitioned them for a change in zoning, in order to alleviate any implication of impropriety or anyone saying that they contacted you directly, they contacted the mayor
You're gonna
directly,
say that
they
anyway, it's okay.
Well, yeah.
whatever the case might be. We have
A process in
each,
place.
each one of our boards has their own planner. So the township has their own planner, in which we submit the developer's request and their submissions, that is, whatever it may be, whatever they submitted to the zoning board, whatever was done at the zoning board level, or it might just be, here's what we'd like, here's the zone, and this way we say to our planner, take a look at our master plan, take a look at the state, county level plans, take a look at everything around you, the surrounding areas, and what the proposed zone changes and how it would affect our present zoning. And they, in turn, give a report as to what their opinion, which is not something we say, here's how we'd like you to respond. It's, here's the information, now give me your analysis.
Well, in this particular I'm looking at our planner's analysis of the site conditions, the conclusions that they reach. I'm very familiar with this area. I guess my question, and I'm sure it's in here somewhere in this report, but maybe someone can pinpoint it. How many, this is all ARE2, the entire tract? Or is part of it something else?
No, I believe it's all ARE2.
Okay, so how many homes can be built in this area? I drive past it, was a Newmark sign on it at some point saying 2-acre lots.
According to the analysis done, they're 2-acre lots, which could yield 16 buildable lots.
Well, it says 42 acres when you total the lot blocks up together.
16 homes, 16.
Right, but are there some environmental constraints too, I think?
I don't know. But there are 42 acres there.
And there's already a business use, there's an industrial, like Glitter International is
Yes,
there.
that's correct.
Right, I would imagine that the applicant probably did a preliminary yield map to show that he could in fact get 16 on there.
Oh, he does say 16, yield 16 residential lots, each with 2 acres, so there must have been some constraints there. At least that's what they're saying,
That's correct.
okay?
And then they'll, like, and Deputy Mayor and Mrs. Clark have said on the planning board, they'll come in with a cluster option, they'll do the 16 lots on 1-acre lots instead. So it'll just be a deeper concentration.
I may go on that planning board one day.
Yeah, my seat.
Does our planner's report then I guess it depends on what we decide to do up here from a policy perspective, because the things in our planner's report are just, I think, so on the edge of, responsibility, and, if we were to entertain this kind of a change for this area, I would want to see the recommendations in here really adhered to, such as environmentally appropriate building techniques. And I'm looking at some of the pictures of the barn-style office buildings, which I just think are excellent. It's my house is actually in one of these pictures, one of the aerial images, so I know right where this is. I mean, these barn shapes are just very. I've never seen anything like that here in Howell.
It was the first police headquarters in Manalapan, was a barn right there on Route 9 Gordon's Corner Road. I just walked by it a couple times.
Well, Barnside Veterinarian, to give them a plug.
That's right.
I just have to say, I took my dog there yesterday. Beautiful place. So that's certainly in keeping with that. But, I guess the question is, from a policy standpoint, I think Deputy Mayor's right that this is a phenomenal report, and it's so helpful. I just know in dealing with it, I appreciate people are here on these issues. I just know, looking at this for the first time, I personally am not comfortable. Certainly, we can talk about where to go from here, but making a decision tonight would not be my suggestion.
I would like to know, can I bring them up to hear what they have to say?
You could certainly do whatever you would like, Mayor.
Counselor.
You're the mayor.
Okay. Come on up. I'd like to hear what you have to say. I'd like to hear the short story, though, not the saga.
Oh, yeah, we'll give you the condensed version.
Just so you know. How you doing tonight? State your name and address, please, for the record.
Yes, Frank Accusano, 80 West Main Street, Freehold, and I'm the attorney for the Harwood Company and Betty Harwood, who are the owners of the property.
My name is Thomas A. Thomas, and I'm a planner, and I'm working with the Harwood Company on the development of the site.
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, we've been studying this property for a long time in conjunction with our commercial broker. As Councilwoman Clark noted, there was a sign up there, or it might have been Dalton, that 2-acre site's available. And for a whole lot of reasons I'm not going to bore you with, we don't think that 16 or 17 or 20 or 14 more single-family residences at that site make any sense, both from a marketing perspective and in terms of impact on the town. The concept that we've come up with is basically flex under the SED zone. When we met with Ms. Schlegel and then Township Attorney Bennett, we indicated that we were not interested in doing any heavy manufacturing if the council authorizes this change. We basically want to do flex, would be office, warehousing, light assembly, certainly nothing that's going to impact the town heavily, not a lot of traffic, and we just think it's a perfect site for that. More than that, I really can't tell you. By the way, we don't have any environmental constraints on the property. I don't know where that information came from. I don't even think you're... No.
No. Deputy Mayor Dole just asked me, I noticed there were 41 acres.
Yes.
But it did say 16 building lots. A 2-acre zone, and that left 9 acres. It just left a little bit up in the air.
That factory takes up a lot of space.
That's all.
Right. And that's another factor in our considerations is that the old Harwood factory, what is now Glitter International.
What do they make, by the way? My husband always asks me, do they
I'll have
really
Mr.
make
Reagan.
glitter there?
They absolutely do make glitter. What they do is they put the glitter on the branches and the poinsettias and everything else that you buy at Christmas for decorations.
I've actually been in there.
Really?
Yes. And you come out just like
Glittering.
covered in glitter.
It's your.
So, yeah, that's what they do. And that's another factor. We think it's a nice transition from that relatively heavy industrial use into what we're proposing to do, and it's we think it's a good fit.
No, you say heavy. I have never once seen any. I haven't ever seen it. The first thing I saw in 6 years I've been here was someone refurbishing the sign the other day, and that was the first movement I've ever seen there.
Well, what we propose would probably be even less intense than that. Tom Thomas, our planner, can speak briefly to the planning aspects of this thing in terms of how it makes sense. And it just confirms what your planner says.
Yeah, we've worked through a number of different scenarios about how this would be developed, both in terms of the as-of-right zoning for 2-acre lots. And also, as we all are aware, and you just adopted a resolution opposing the Council on Affordable Housing, but in fact, the rules of the Council on Affordable Housing provide for gross share ordinance requirements. We've looked at that also, and I believe all of this information has either been provided or would be provided. And then doing actually a comparison with what we believe can fit onto that property is approximately 250,000 square feet maximum for distribution and warehouse activities and office use. And the gist of it is that over the long haul, and I'm a planner in several municipalities, so I go through this on a regular basis, but in the long haul, that type of use compared to the 2-acre zoning for residential development would produce a rateable for the town over a long period of time, which is very important. And right now, ratables are an important aspect of all development. We realize that it would take some time to do this, but it starts with zoning, so that's how it starts.
Are there any conceptuals done already?
Yes.
That we could look at?
We have provided, and will provide again if you'd like, just an overall subdivision scheme, which is not, by the way, chiseled in stone by any means. But we'll be happy to provide that. We do have some projections of what buildings might look like. We can provide them to you. Once again, we think that we can produce a product that you'd be satisfied with, more than satisfied with. One thing I would ask, Mayor, is some of the particulars in the ordinance. If you do decide to go ahead with this, we'd welcome the opportunity to discuss with Mr. Melvin if you do intend to go ahead and develop an ordinance. We'd like to participate in that process if we could.
We'll think about that. Anybody else from the council have any questions? I mean, I have to hand this one a little bit with kid gloves. I live right down the block.
Mm-hmm. Can you see your house in the aerial?
No,
can't see his?
I wouldn't tell you if I could. No, I'm about a block away from the aerial.
Mm-hmm.
See where that cow's mowing? He's mowing in my house. So, we have a report here. I'd like to speak with our planner.
Certainly.
Can we have him come up for a meeting?
We can.
I would like that. I'd like to go through this report and formulate a bunch of questions I would like to ask him.
Well, I think to Councilwoman Clark's point, if you would like to discuss this further, that would be fine.
I would like to discuss this further. It intrigues me.
We can get the additional information and possibly have you speak to the planner, and we could put it on for the next workshop meeting if that's the direction the council would want to go in.
I have one question. Did this go before the zoning board?
No.
No.
We decided specifically not to do that because it's a sizable piece of property, and although we have every legal right to go to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, we felt that this was a better subject for mayor and council to consider.
Okay. Just asking the question.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank
No, it
you.
hasn't been.
No, and there's already water and sewer there, I believe, correct?
Water.
There's water.
There's water. I don't think that the sewer's been extended that far, or is there any indication that it's going to be? It'd probably be septics.
Is there sewer over on in the development across from Kirk Flores?
No,
No?
I don't think so.
How about on Morello Court, which is right by us, which is right across from where you are?
Right.
Is there sewer there? Because I'm over on Camelot, not far from here.
Yeah. I mean, we'd welcome the extension, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like 300 yards.
It runs on Squonkam Yellow Brook opposite the site. You cross Squonkam Yellow Brook, it runs parallel with Squonkam Yellow Brook, probably a few hundred feet off of the road, across the street from the property. So it's not far away, but this particular site is not within
The sewer service area.
It's not in the 208 plan.
No.
Okay. Okay.
The condensed version?
There's some more things that that I'd like to ask our planner, having to do with the township overall.
Sure.
And,
No. Can I ask, because I want to be clear about this, because I already am getting a sense. There is nothing improper about this applicant, or not applicant, this developer being in front of us, asking us to do this. Yes or no?
That's correct. There is nothing improper about his.
They don't have to go to the zoning board first.
No, they could petition the council first.
Petitioning the council is an appropriate way to ask for a zone change. Yes or no?
They could present their request for a zone change.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Have I ever met you before?
I don't think so, Mayor.
I think I passed you on the street one day when I was going to lunch in Freehold.
Entirely possible.
Yeah, you're a handsome guy, I remember you.
That's
now.
me.
Okay. I'm sure within 48 hours, people will tell me and you go back 40 years.
Of
together,
course.
so.
It'll be in the press.
Here we golf. You belong to Eagle Oak Country Club?
No, I don't.
All right, I do. Good. All right.
If
Anything
you're
else
in-
from anybody from the council?
No.
Any professionals like to ask any questions?
No, sir.
Well, thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you. If you need anything else, Mayor, we'll be happy to provide it.
Thank you very much.
And I will get a package to Helene.
Do they have a copy of this?
I would like to see that.
Yes.
What is this aerial one for? Okay. The next one, which you received from our planner.
This one ought to get a reaction from the crowd.
Is this Mac Athletic Center?
Yes, it is.
Mayor, that's correct. I believe that MAC has recommended that the SED zone be amended to include recreational facilities with appropriate conditions as a principal permitted use, and that the zone be expanded to cover the entire site, thereby eliminating the ARE 6 zone.
Okay. I would like you to say that to me in English. I noticed that there's SED and ARE 6 zone in one lot, which is 43 acres. There's a mixture, and the other lot that's 9 acres is all ARE 6, correct?
Correct.
And they are looking for us to make recreational buildings permittable in the SED zone and change these ARE 6s?
To allow for recreational facilities as a permitted use, principal permitted use in the SED zone. And to further expand that zone to essentially eliminate the ARE 6. Now, again, the representatives from the developer are here if you have any questions. I should
I don't see him.
tell you that this was an application that was before the planning board.
Zoning board.
I'm sorry, the zoning board, I apologize. And it went 4-3 against the request for the change.
Well, 4-3 for the change, but they needed a super variance.
I'm sorry, yes.
So they needed a
yes,
5-2.
yes, yes.
It was 4-3 for, and
They
but
needed the 5-2. That's correct.
I need to ask questions of the developer. Do you mind? Anybody?
Go right ahead.
This was a pretty heated topic. I have spoken about this with zoning board members, with members of the public. Have you made any changes to your plan since you were not given the 5-2
Yeah,
vote?
yeah, we've made no changes. Our plan stands as it stands, and you know, it was heated for a lot of the wrong reasons, but it's not an overdevelopment of the site in any way, and we really haven't made. We did meet with the zoning board about a settlement in the summertime. Clearly, there are two sides to that whole board there, so that was going nowhere. We did not make any settlement with them.
Okay. Well, heated for all the wrong reasons, that's up to one's interpretation.
Well, it's.
I mean, being fair,
Yes, sir.
you know. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Before we get into the heart of it, I want to ask the same questions of our attorney. I want to make sure. Now, this particular application is in litigation, correct?
That's correct.
There's a prerogative writ action in front of Judge Lawson right now,
There's
correct?
actually, no,
No?
it's no longer before Judge Lawson. They've appealed Judge Lawson's decision.
So it's in front of the appellate division?
That's correct, and I believe it's my understanding that there's a 90-day stay with respect to taking any action because the applicant is permitted to request the zone change from the council.
So-
If they did not pursue the prerogative writ action or their appeal, they would have lost that right.
They could have still come here and asked us to change the zone.
Correct.
And so there is nothing, there's no impropriety in the applicant coming in front of us and asking the council to consider a change in the zone, correct?
That's correct.
And by our discussion here tonight, is there any effect on any future litigation?
What you say here isn't going to have any effect on what happens at the appellate division. As both attorneys are aware, they're appealing the decision of Judge Lawson. Whatever we say here will have no bearing or effect whatsoever on what the appellate division decides. That will strictly be based on the record before the appellate division.
And that's the record before the zoning board, correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
that was the record that was before Judge Lawson. I'm sorry when I misspoke when I said it was before
No,
that.
I just wanted to clear my...
So everyone's clear. What
Okay.
is happening here is one of the procedures that our municipal land use law provides for, as does our court rules. So you can proceed with your discussions. You could take action, not take action, consider it, table it as we did the other item, and discuss it at length. This is just one other avenue of recourse.
I know one of the issues that came up that was an issue when this application was in front of the zoning board was the issue of sewers and where they would be located, down Fairfield Road or along Route 33. Is your plan still to locate those sewers on Fairfield Road?
We've made no preliminary application to Manasquan River Sewage Authority, but Mr. Wong, see, after our denial, the property across the street was then approved by the zoning board of Howell Township. And when they did their approval, he did get preliminary approval for the sewers. And it's my understanding not to run down Fairfield Road, but run through a right-of-way behind his property, and that he would situate a pump station right on Fairfield Road for us to hook up to. And then we would then run a 15-inch gravity line to our northern terminus so that other properties on 33 would hook up to it. That's the way it was explained to me. But we've made no application, but he has, and he's gotten preliminary approval from this council for the way he is running the sewers.
He came on Vanderveer up to a piece of property over there, correct, Councilman Howell?
Right, and then he hooked into the trunk line on 524. And I think the planning board heard an application last year for a flex building on the top of Fairfield Road, where they granted a 25-foot wide easement for that sewer line, which would leave your property and go to 33 for all of those, like the cabin and all of that, to hook into.
Yeah, but at this point, we've made no application, but, you know, we would follow suit with that applicant to bring those services.
There was also some big discussions about the height.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be that high.
Well, we gave testimony that, you know, currently most of the facilities are retrofit facilities, like Good Sports on 138. That's a converted tennis facility that is now a field turf building. That facility is at 55 feet. 55 feet is not a standard for a state-of-the-art facility that would be built from the ground up. The New England Patriots facility is 85 feet high, but we won't have professional athletes. So our original request to the zoning board was for a 70-foot peak, but the way you measure the height is the halfway point between the peak and the soffit. So I believe we were 55 feet, according to the Howell Township measurement, but we were 70 feet at the peak.
Just so that I can get a perspective, and I think I asked you yesterday, the height of that bubble that's at the Atlantic Club.
I can't honestly testify as to how high that building is. I'm not sure. They have multiple buildings. They have fabric structures and bubbles. The height variances on the bubbles usually don't apply because they're considered a temporary structure because they're removed. So some of them are up to 70, 75 feet high. There's a similar complex called the Jack Cuss Center in Flemington, and they got around the zoning. Theirs is, I believe it's almost 80 feet high, but they take it down for 6 months of the year to avoid the height variance and say it's a temporary structure. But we have pushed our buildings very, very far back into the property to avoid the height effect from the street. We've also put a football field as a buffer between the residences to the south to push even our lower scale health club building farther away from the residences. We did that on purpose.
South, you mean the ones who live on Fairfield Road?
Yes.
Can I ask that, that's that neighborhood house, it's, you probably don't have a copy of our, but it's a, it looks like it's kind of a, I'm on page GMD3. The house that is adjacent to this property, it's actually, can you just describe it?
It's a colonial style building.
It's a house,
Yeah.
and then they also have across the street, they have some area that's being farmed or flowers, and it's a real beautiful, absolutely.
The guardian, that's the
Yeah,
people that own guardian irrigation or guardian tree.
It's just a beautiful piece of property.
It is. And what we did to stay away from those neighbors is we created a functional buffer by putting a football soccer field is basically the distance between our property line and our first building. Instead of pushing the buildings up into that corner, we put a field there to avoid that.
Where would the parking lots be? Behind your building?
No, because we pushed the buildings back so far, the parking would be in the front, and there is some parking into the rear. I'd be happy to submit you a site plan if you need one.
Again, I think would recommend that till you get the information that you're looking for, you want to move this to another meeting.
I want to ask another question, though. I heard mention that the county had offered to buy this property from them. Is that still viable?
We haven't had any dialogue with the county since they made their offer back in, I think it was August. We haven't had any dialogue with them. But it is contiguous with 166 acres of property that they have in the rear that has minimal frontage. And our property has 1,500 feet of frontage. So I think that was the interest that they had, was that it would make the full 200-plus acre piece of property accessible for public use. Currently, I don't believe that they could access cars to what they currently hold in a safe fashion because their frontage is on 33. They wouldn't be able to make a left-hand turn coming out of there with cars. So our property disperses the cars to 33 business, 33 bypass, Brickyard, and then the other direction, 524. So we have 5 means of egress within 1,500 feet either way.
Now, if we did change the zoning here, you still have to go by everything with the planning board, by what they would want here?
Yes, sir. We'd have to go for a full site plan with the planning board. And also the other thing that brought about this was the fact that currently Howell Township has no provisions for recreational zoning in their ordinances. So if you wanted to build this facility anywhere in the entire town, you would need a variance. There's not one site.
Council, is that true?
The master plan actually calls for public parks and recreation facilities to plan towards that, but we don't have that as permitted uses in the town.
That is
Nowhere?
true.
No.
No.
Yeah, actually, the master plan does say they're looking for public and private recreational uses, but then they make no provisions in the zoning
I know.
for public and private
And we have had a number of discussions about recreation master plans. Aren't we looking for money and,
Yes, we
going
are.
to fund? How can we have a recreation, I guess our recreation master plan would address what zones or what areas we think should be rezoned for that purpose?
That's correct.
It's something that should have been in place years ago. So we'll just do it now, that's all.
Can I ask a question of the applicant? What was the primary, or, you know, if you can tell me, what was the primary reason for the 3 no votes?
Well, according to their testimony, one was the traffic. Another one was the violation of the ARE 6 zone with structures that were not homes. And the other one was flooding. And we really addressed all those issues because we testified that our detention basins would be sized to accommodate the water from Fairfield Road, which currently floods. So we'd actually be making...
it does.
It floods in a major way.
And then the traffic, actually, the traffic reports, would be happy to submit to you, from the board's own traffic engineer, stated that the traffic in the post-construction condition would be better than the pre-construction condition due to our improvements to make the right-hand turn lane at 33, which was part of what we were doing, and creating the turn lanes into the property. And then for the ARE 6 zone, I mean, that's the crazy thing, is that, and Judge Lawson, I don't think, looked at the plan, but if you look at the site plan, there's no way to access the ARE 6 portion of this property unless you traverse through the SED portion.
It's landlocked?
Yeah, it's landlocked from access. So if you were going to develop it as ARE 6, you'd have to create a road through the industrial portion to get to your house. And there was testimony from the public that, oh, you can access it off Baker Road. We said, no, you can't. Look at the plan. You can't. There's not enough room. We don't have access. We don't have frontage for the ARE 6 portion on Baker Road. So that's really a conflict. And the testimony that I heard was that they zoned it ARE 6 because it's environmentally sensitive. Well, we did a full LOI in wetlands. It's a 43-acre tract. There's a little over 2 acres of wetlands. Now, in the state of New Jersey, that's almost de minimis for wetlands. We set up the buffers. It's approximately 2 acres of buffers. It's about 40 acres of, 39, 40 acres of usable property, which is very good. I mean, Howell Township has a lot of wetlands. There's substantial wetlands on the tract north of us. There's substantial wetlands in the rear at the tract that the county owns. But our property is not environmentally sensitive.
North of you, the tract north of you, the one closer to 33?
Yes. It's been subdivided by the planning board, but one of the lots has substantial wetlands on it.
Yeah, the one right west of the cabin.
Well, as you go north from our site, they subdivided 2 lots. The lot closer to us is the bigger one. That has a lot of wetlands on it that then attaches to that wetland system over by the cabin.
Okay.
That was the flex space.
Yes.
Project.
Yeah. And then the smaller lot that they created to the north of that one, that has minimal wetlands on it.
And that's where the utility easement is, on that property?
I believe so.
Okay.
Ms. Keenan?
Yes.
If we did rezone this, would he still not have to go for a variance? The applicant still have to go for a variance from the zoning board for the height?
No, they would have the once you rezoned it, you would have those requirements built in. If you're going to have a recreational facility, well, then recreational facilities are going to have, or they're going to have certain setbacks, heights, whatever the case might be. They're bulk and area.
Is the request to rezone just this applicant's property, or all of SED zone would now have this recreation component as a permitted use?
It's my understanding that the applicant's requesting that all of SED would be included in the SED zone would be this recreational facility as a principal permitted use, not just this particular piece of property. It's a request to change or to actually add recreational facilities as a principal permitted use.
With regarding the height, that was an interesting thing about the application. The SED zone that you have now has no height restriction. So we could have built it 100 feet high. Not that we wouldn't, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you need to protect yourselves on that.
Calm down now.
And part of this ordinance is to give Howell Township that protection in setting up a height requirement. We only needed a variance for the height for the portion of the building that was in the ARE 6.
If I remember, Mayor, we had to fix that because it said the minimal height in the zone would be 35 feet?
Yes.
It didn't say the maximum?
No,
So
the
you could have
minimum
went to
height would be
100 feet.
Exactly. That was never our intent, but that's something in terms of housekeeping at this point in time would be a good thing to do. And also what we didn't ask that every zone be, for recreation, but the consideration was that you have an existing SED zoning and that there would be an SED1 overlay zones where you could create SED with a recreational component. That was more what we were, contemplating. Is that?
The way that Jerry explained it to me maybe was a little bit different, or the way that I understood it when it was written was that recreational facilities be included in the SED zones, but I understand what.
So basically, if we were to do this and we were to do the other one, then we would be creating, instead of ARE2, the other place, we could put the MAC Athletic Center over there.
Right, well, so essentially you would have to either rezone that particular property as SED, and then this piece, or we could, not just this piece, but we could create an SED1 that would allow for recreational facilities. Again,
Okay.
this is more in the realm of planners than.
One more, I promise. So with the Howell, the swimming pool club, which is over on Howell Road, what zone is that?
SED.
That's SED, and they went in front of the zoning board and got a variance over there.
They would have had to because it's not a permitted.
Right,
Correct.
because the recreation is not permitted.
That's
Okay.
correct.
And also in our testimony, there's a baseball academy and a gymnastics.
I'm
and
familiar
that's
with those.
SED. They got the variances, there. So.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Council.
Let's get the planner up here to discuss these things with them. Okay, both of these projects with the planner.
Do you want him at the meeting, or do you want him to be here for the open discussion?
Bring him to lunch. You bring him to the meeting. Let's talk about this. No, in public here.
That's fine.
Here.
I was just asking, I don't.
No,
Thank you.
absolutely, yeah, no, public, yes.
Okay. 7C2, repealing Chapter 299 of Villages Development. Anybody got anything they'd like to ask about that?
Mayor, maybe if we could just get the attorney to give us an overview for the benefit of the public and the folks that are here from the villages.
I'll just field the rest of these 7 Cs, how about that?
Yes.
Okay, the villages, this, it's my understanding that negotiations with the villages has been an ongoing process, something that has culminated over a course of several years. They fall under what's called the Kelly Act, so they're entitled to, yes.
Mr. King, we'd like to take a break for 2 minutes. We'd like to do it all at once and have
That's
nothing
fine.
in between.
But you've been brilliant.
Okay, we'll take a break for 5 minutes. All right, I'd like to reopen the meeting. We'll go back.
Villages.
Ms. King, you were starting to explain to us 7C2 through 7C6. I want them to all be discussed at once.
Okay, 7C2 involves the villages, which, under the Kelly Act, qualifies for the Qualified Municipal Services Act. This has never been put in place formally. We do have an ordinance on the books that addresses specifically the villages. which you will actually see on the agenda to be introduced at first reading on April 28th, that repeals that provision, and in lieu of that provision will be, in lieu of that provision will be the municipal services agreement between the municipality and the villages. Essentially, the long and short of it is that the villages will be entitled to receive those benefits with that they're receiving at the present time, which is a brush cleanup, or I think they do their own trash removal as it stands right now. But whatever we're providing to the other residents, they'll be entitled to. Additionally, the biggest concern or the biggest issue that presented itself to me when I started in January was the road improvements. There was a figure calculated by our engineer, and it was to repair the roadway, it would total approximately $750,000 to be allocated over the course of 5 years. Bill would allocate that in his road program. Additionally, there's the parking areas. The village is going to reimburse the municipality for the repair of those areas. We will let them know how much it's going to cost, because in their opinion it would be more cost effective for us to include it in whatever areas we're doing at that time during the next 5 years.
Skeena, I know we discussed this on the phone today, and you were outlining this very well to me, but I didn't ask you about the Kelly Act.
Certain developments that don't have roadways that conform to state standards, that is, that they're subpar, we aren't obligated to repair them or take care of them. However, as a municipality, we are entitled to reimburse them for the costs that they would incur. However, that cost could not exceed what the municipality would pay to the other residents of the town. So this resolution essentially is authorizing the mayor to execute that agreement.
Thank you.
And the ordinance repeals, this proposed ordinance repeals the section in our ordinance that addresses the villages specifically.
So that'll be moved from the 1981
Yes, that's correct.
ordinance. So we can finally put that to rest?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm okay. Let's move on to 7C 3 to 6. Let's bring Barbara Dixell and Bob Walsh both up to speed on this. Right, Mr. Dixell?
I'm sorry, sir? Okay, right.
Okay, 7
through 6.
7C3 and essentially 7C4 and 5 can be addressed kind of together. At the last meeting, or maybe perhaps 2 meetings ago, I don't recall, there was a discussion about repealing the hotel and conference center. And I believe that there was a vote taken to do that, and it was a 4-to-1. Mayor, I believe you actually requested this, and Ms. Dalton seconded the motion, and it was to remove the hotel and conference center as a conditional use in the HD3 zone. In our ordinance, it is a conditional use not only in the HD3 zone, but also in the HD1 and 2 zone. That's the 7C3 removes hotel and conference center as a conditional use in HD1 and HD2. 7C5 repeals hotel and conference center, its definition, and completely removes it from our ordinance. 7C4, there's several things going on there, one of which is to remove hotel and conference center as a conditional use in the HD3 zone. The other is to grandfather single-family residential homes in this particular zone and have them conform with, I believe it's the R4 bulk and area requirements. That's apparently it's come to light that there are these single-family homes that are there, and if they want to put on a deck or something of that nature, they have to go to the zoning board. This eliminates that problem. Additionally, it was also suggested by our planner that we repeal the mixed-use age-restricted element of this zone as a result of the bill that's currently before the governor that addresses conversion of age-restricted developments to, converting age-restricted developments to non-age-restricted developments. It doesn't solve the problem for any developments that already have their approvals that are in that area, but it certainly will address any applications going forward.
So it would be my understanding then that all of the housing units in Coast Neck Crossing, for example, which I believe is HD3, if they wanted to put a shed in the backyard, they would now have to endure the expense of going to the zoning board instead of just paying a $10 fee at land use. Because we would be repealing that as a conditional use in a zone, it would be a non-conforming use.
The mixed-use age-restricted?
Correct.
It would be a pre-existing, non-conforming. Well, pre-existing conforming, but they I believe are all of the houses that will be there will, or the non-residential development is subject to the HC bulk and area requirements. They would have to go before the zoning board. This is something that I could address with our planner, and it could be that we could also put in a provision in there addressing that particular development. Nothing has been formalized, this is just for
discussion.
Well, I've been against the hotel ordinance since it's been in existence. And contrary to what many people have said in favor of it, I haven't seen people jumping through the hoops to build hotels in Howell Township. And even in Jackson, been hearing for years the one's going to go by Great Adventure. Now I'm hearing Great Adventure is probably closing the end of August. I've never saw a reason to have hotels as a permitted use. I don't think it's a good idea. I've always been against it. I will always be against it. And I would like to see it repealed. I do understand what Councilman Howell's saying now about, somebody wants to put a shed, they'd have to go before the zoning board. Is there something we could do about that? Is that a factual statement, or is there something we could do to have things like that be allowable?
I don't know if off the top of my head they're allowed to have one there as it stands right now. Are they allowed to have sheds as
residential?
I don't know, but like you just said, if they wanted to put a deck on their house, there would be a non-conforming use. They'd have to go to the zoning board, which is the problem we're trying to eliminate in other zones.
Right.
If somebody wanted to put a wider sidewalk than what was allowed because maybe they need to put a wheelchair there and the sidewalk's not big enough, they'd have to go to the zoning board.
Like I know Surrey Downs, there was a huge fight some years ago because somebody had a 3-foot statue of the Blessed Mother on the property right in front of his place in Surrey Downs, and there was rules against it in Surrey Downs, and it was a long, drawn-out battle.
I can certainly address this issue, particularly the Colts Neck Crossing, with our planner and see if we could remedy that situation. Single-family homes, as it stands right now, all of those homes in that area have to go before our zoning board for variances for items such as decks and what have you. And they're not even subject to, there are no bulk, as it stands, bulk and area requirements for those homes. So this particular, at least one section of it, addresses that issue.
You know what my major concern is? And that's getting it right.
That's why we're here.
I'm real big on that. I know we have conflicting ordinances in our books. Mr. Cohen brought up one today in the SED zone that you couldn't, that the minimum requirement was 35 feet. That's actually funny, but it's so funny it's not funny. That's how a law was written in Howell Township, that a minimum height requirement was 35 feet. I want us to be right, okay? And I don't mean that anybody could question it. I mean, little things can happen. I mean, maybe the condominium complex doesn't allow you to widen the sidewalk for the wheelchair. Maybe they don't let you put a shed there. I mean, I do remember that battle.
Yeah, I think that was the homeowners association.
It was Surrey Downs, the gentleman I used to paint for back in 1974, 1975. Last time I ever painted a house in my life, okay? And it was him who had the 3-foot statue of the Blessed Mother right outside his door, and they fought him tooth and claw to get that statue out of there.
Well, we haven't brought this issue to our planner. We were just going to discuss it tonight. Maybe what we could do is go over this with our planner and get that information to you.
Okay.
Well, I know, am I correct that this is something that previously in the town has been widely discussed?
Which part of it?
All of it.
All of it.
That's correct.
And, you know, I would like to see what the planner comes up with, and I'd also like to hear from public, since I wasn't on the council when that was discussed, you know, and have their input as well on that. I know that tonight we're just discussing it, but I can tell you, I haven't decided exactly where I fall on this. I want more information, and I also want to hear from the planner and hear from the community about it. So that's where my position on it is.
Deputy Mayor, anything?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I feel the same way you do with regard to the repeal of hotels as a permitted use. It was an issue. You and I made a promise to the people, and I will keep that promise to the people of this town who told me what their thoughts were when I campaigned to get this position, and that is to remove it. My question is, if we remove it as a permitted use, must we remove all of the definitions that describe and give parameters to a hotel and conference center? Because the arguments I've heard are, if we don't have any standards, then it's a free-for-all at the zoning board. Is that true?
You can certainly leave the definition. However, we don't have any in place. We don't have any hotels in place right now. This actually argument I addressed with Jack Mallon, who sits on our zoning board, and we discussed this with actually the next proposed ordinance, which it addresses the motel aspect of this. In that particular ordinance, which I think is 172.
175.1.
There's a definition of a hotel, which Councilman Howell had pointed
Differs,
out.
right.
Differs
Yes.
from what we had in 188.87.2. So that particular provision would have to be repealed. There was also some discussion about completely repealing that motel section in and of itself. However, we have motels that are in Howell. So to leave the definition would be my recommendation, and to change the duration of this stay from 12 hours to 24 hours and from 30 days to 14 days would also be my recommendation. Leaving the rest up to our building department, because there are motel, hotel dwellings that, in terms of building, that the building code does address. That would be our Paul Orlando would be involved in that aspect of it.
So if we repeal hotels as a permitted use, and someone comes in front of the zoning board because they believe, based upon the criteria of their site, the suitability of the surrounding neighborhood, et cetera, that it is an appropriate place to seek a use variance and put in a hotel, we could still have standards for what a hotel looks like, even if we don't have one in terms of bulk standards, even if we don't have a zone which allows them?
No. Essentially, if a developer came before the zoning board and said, I'd like to put up a hotel, and we don't have anything on our books, they could pretty much say, I'd like to put it here, here's why, and here are the standards we think it should be.
But we still have building height, well, we're getting
Right.
through those, but there would still be a maximum height. It doesn't have to be
I believe-
maximum height for hotels.
No, but I believe all of our zones have certain maximum heights, minimum heights, and what have you, that bulk area requirements already in place. They don't necessarily have to be for a hotel. I mean, they would come in and say, I'd like a variance, and here's what I'd like the height to be, since we don't have those bulk area requirements site-specific for a hotel.
And you're saying if we keep the room occupancy issues, the room occupancy ordinance, we fix it so that it says 24-hour minimum and 14-day maximum stay, would that then apply to a hotel that sought a use variance in a particular area?
No,
Why
this
why not?
particular-
Can't we have just a restriction on transient stays, period, regardless of where?
Just so you know, the building code does define what a transient dwelling is. However, the building code puts it at, if it's 30 or 90. It might be 30 now, it might have been 90. Less than 30 days. And I think there was a draft, but you have to keep the two separate, because hotel and motels are two distinct, separate entities. But if you leave this motel duration and definition in place, it's going to apply to motels. It's not going to apply, at least.
So that's separate from a hotel, the two issues are entirely
Correct.
separate.
However, the reason I'm addressing them at the same time is because there was also a definition of a hotel in the motel hotel ordinance, as ridiculous as that sounds. But, I mean, understandably so, we also have the hotel motel tax in there.
So you have to have a definition.
Well, not necessarily, because that's also regulated by the state. It just allows us to collect a municipal tax fee.
Where's the ability to
Yeah, I know.
To enforce? I mean, I'm just asking from a practical standpoint.
Enforce which part of this?
The stay.
The duration as to motels? Like every other ordinance on our books, a lot of that lies in the hands of our code enforcement officer or our construction official. Whether it's a building requirement, a construction requirement, or an enforcement issue, as if, you know, Chris Jackson does our code enforcement, whether it's signs or fence heights or whatever the case might be.
See, I look at it kind of like we spoke earlier tonight about the swim club. It wasn't a permitted use. Mac Athletic Center, it wasn't a permitted use, but they were before the zoning board.
That's correct.
Okay?
That would be the requirement.
And then all the specifics could be laid out there. Correct?
That's correct. The zoning, I have to tell you that when I did meet with the respective boards and their chairpersons and their planners and their attorneys, it was a function of, it's a policy decision, and what, do you want to have this in place or not?
You know where I stand? No.
Mayor, going to the deputy mayor's questions of everything else has to be removed. Right now, by having something in place, we have it where you can't have kitchens in there. If we don't have a definition of a hotel in the standards, they can put kitchens in. They can become like the extended stay suites. Once it goes to the zoning board and there's no rules on the books of what the room sizes are like we have now, what they have to have in the rooms, they can come in and say, this is what I want to build. If we don't have something there that says you can't have a kitchen in there and 3 bedrooms, we can't say no.
Hold on. Hold on. The zoning board can say no.
Yeah.
The zoning board can say no.
They can say no to the project, but they don't have much of a leg to stand on when, just because, oh, now you have a kitchen in there.
Well, couldn't...
Right now, they can't put them in because they're not permitted.
But they couldn't they, but an applicant who wanted kitchenettes in their project could still go in front of the zoning board and say, hey, we've got a conference, we got a hotel, we want to put kitchenettes in, just like Homewood Suites. So I know your ordinance doesn't permit it, but hey, it's a permitted use, and now I want to put kitchens in too. So
Right,
I
but-
respect the argument, I understand it, Mike, but I don't see why there's so much of a risk that we're going to be inundated with hotels if we repeal this ordinance.
I'm not saying we're going to be inundated with anything. You just made my point. We have a rule that if the guy came in and everything else was conforming for his hotel application, but he wanted to put in kitchenettes, he'd have to go to the zoning board instead of the planning board, and it's going to cost him 4 times as much. So he's probably not going to put the kitchenettes in. So right now, the only application, I believe, for any kind of hotel in this town is at the zoning board.
I don't even know if there
Well,
is one.
There, I believe there's one application.
Right. It's on the docket, and it's going to the zoning board. And
Right, that's right. It's not deemed complete, that's correct.
This is not the
Thank you.
time or the forum to talk about it, but I can tell you that it is my understanding that there is one, but anything we do here, even if you repeal this provision, will have no effect.
I have no bearing on that.
No.
Okay. Anybody else?
Just for clarification, Mayor, that I did address the motel ordinance, which I think is on
Yes, you did, 7C6.
7C6, okay? Was part of the whole. Okay.
Discussed. Let's go on.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to see all of these proposed ordinances on for introduction.
Mayor, I think I'd like some clarification beforehand about the one particular one about the mixed-use development. If we're going to be creating a problem, and I thought the attorney said she was going to reach out to the township planner to make sure that we're not now creating 350-plus non-conforming uses.
I'm sorry, what I meant was all the ones regarding the hotel and motel.
I'm okay with that. Everybody else? Let's be decisive. Believe you have your direction.
Okay.
Well, you have direction from 2.
I said be decisive. So speak up or
I'm
never hold your
not-
peace. Where do we hear that?
You know, I'm not really comfortable, and I've said it from the beginning, not having a specific area where people can go to if they want to propose a hotel, because then, as Mr. Cohen stated in his application, we don't have a place where you can put a recreational facility, so here we are tripping over ourselves to think about putting one in, so that it is permitted someplace, so that we can kind of dictate where it goes. But now, we're looking to trip over ourselves to take away any control we have on where somebody can put a hotel. And I think at the meeting, and I believe it was 4 meetings ago, I asked that Ms. Kingdom find out what happens, what could be the effect if we didn't have a specific zone that this was a permitted use in. Could somebody who wants to build a hotel, and you know, we have a guy who just objected to our COA plan, says he's got 10 acres in Ramtown on Newton's Corner Road. Could he come and say, if we don't have a specific zone, could he say, I'm going to put a hotel there, and I don't have to have, 40 acres or whatever the requirements are? And does it leave us less protected?
Couldn't anybody do that anywhere?
Yes.
Yes.
You'd have to go to the
I mean-
zoning.
Yeah, but
you
you
still
go in
have
front
to
of
go
the
to the zoning
zoning
board.
board.
At the end of the day, though, anybody could do that anywhere. That's what, I don't disagree with some of your arguments, Councilman. I really don't. But anybody could do that anywhere.
Right, but
It doesn't make a difference.
I understand what you're saying, but people are more likely to put an application together in an area where it's permitted because they don't have that uphill fight. They can walk in and say, they can walk into the planning board, and we see it all the time. I have a no waiver, no variance application. Here it is, it meets all your standards. They're in and out in a meeting. Or you can wind up like Mr. Cohen and Matt, going to the zoning board for, 10, 12 meetings at 10 grand a pop? Where are you more likely to go?
All right, we have differences, obviously, in opinions. Councilwoman Clark, would you like to see it on the agenda?
I've said this when we've talked about it. I think it was a 3-to-1 when we discussed this. Absolutely, I understand the arguments. I'm just telling you that at this point there's specific issues I have. Nevertheless, I do want to see it on the agenda, and I do want to see us move forward on this.
Okay, so, as Deputy Mayor Dalton said before, we'd like to see all of them on for action. Introduction and action.
Pick one.
I'll speak to the planner before we put it on for first reading, so perhaps I'll be able to address the Colts Neck Crossing issue.
And we'll
for them.
disseminate that information.
Are we going to try to get him here for next meeting anyway, the planner?
For the April 28th meeting? Do you want?
Well, do you have specific questions, or cost money to bring them?
He's got a smart car.
Yeah, there's some things there's some things I want to ask him about.
Well, I have not
Reports?
addressed this issue with our planner, the township planner. This I addressed with CME and Birdsall.
Okay.
But if you would separately, for the issues raised with respect to the zoning changes, I could certainly request that the Melvin Group representatives appear here.
I would
You
like
want
to
them
see
here?
them here.
Okay.
I would like them front and center. Let's talk about this. Get some of their input on this.
With respect to the hotels?
No.
Okay. I
No,
just want to
with
make
respect
sure
to
that
the-
they understand why they're going to
The
be here.
reports.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, okay. We were talking about the hotels. I thought you meant for the hotels.
I thought you were too.
Okay. Are we clear now?
Yes.
You want all the ordinances,
Crystal?
you want all the ordinances on for introduction, and you want the Melvin Group here to discuss the zone change reports.
Yes.
And I will address the issue raised by Councilman Howell with respect to avoiding any new problems that would require me to
Absolutely. He's got some
amend.
valid issues
Absolutely.
that need to be addressed, and they could play an important part of decision-making. Okay? So,
I will also be sure that at first reading, everybody has copies of the ordinances, the proposed ordinances, and not just by title, at least that each one of you has a copy of them.
Thank you.
yeah, 7C1 we're not including.
No,
7C1 we're going to be discussing again.
that's correct.
7C2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
All right, I got to open the meeting back up.
Go into regular session, man?
We need to introduce 9A1. Right.
9A1?
All right, do we need to go back into regular session?
Yes, sir.
I need a motion to go back into regular session.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Have a roll call, please, Ms. Woolman.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton? Yes. Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Okay. 9A1.
Okay, can I ask some,
Member of the council?
well, can I ask some questions about it? Because if we just introduce it, then we're not going to discuss it.
Go ahead. I'm comfortable with you asking questions.
Absolutely. The idea behind this is that we have a original round three ordinance that we prepared in conformity with the requirements of COA's initial round three rules and regulations.
Correct.
And now that those round three rules were challenged, were invalidated, and new rules have been implemented, our ordinance has not caught up to those new rules, correct?
Correct.
And the problem is that we have developers who are at our gates saying, you have an ordinance which has these standards, we want our developments approved pursuant to those standards, and some of those standards include density bonuses that we don't need to give anymore, relaxation of certain bulk requirements that we don't have to do, and most importantly, 1-to-8 ratio.
That's correct.
Okay, I'm fine with with understanding that. I do have a problem with the idea that I think it's suggested in some of the backup that we as a council might not want to require developers to build the affordable component of whatever they're building on site. I do not agree with allowing them to build it someplace else.
I don't think you need to address that issue right now. Right now, we're just taking this particular provision off of our books, and we're going to go with the 1.5, 2.5 equalized assessed value, and at that point, once this is done, then sit down and figure out exactly how we want to address these issues.
Okay, but those are my thoughts on it. I mean, I've been consistent about that the whole time I've been up here.
And our planner is very aware of that. She understands that, and I think that issue has been addressed and talked about with members of the planning board as well as our COA council and CME and Birdsall.
Finch, you're leaving Barbara. You forgot Barbara.
I have to stay until the end of the meeting.
Mayor, I also have a question for the attorney. Ms. King, we had an applicant come to the planning board who wanted to build his affordable housing, 2 units of affordable housing as part of a quadplex with 2 market rate units and 2 affordable units in the same building, because his interpretation of the language of the ordinance is that the affordable units can be built as duplexes, triplexes, or quadplexes, and it doesn't really state clearly that they have to be all of one or all of the other.
That's correct.
He wanted to mix it, and he wanted to make it part of a homeowners association, and it's on septic and who's going to pay for what, and
that provision of the ordinance is including in this repeal. Traditionally, developers, it's my understanding, have come before the board and said, okay, we'll comply with whatever rules are in effect at the time. Now we're seeing developers come and say, we're not going to do that. We want this, and we want it now. This is how we want it. That's not to say that COA's rules wouldn't apply at the time. Obviously, state rules trump local ordinances. It's just a function of really, I mean, we have our planning board members sitting through hours and hours of applications unnecessarily addressing these issues.
This is part of the process of cleaning it up. I'm all for it.
I'm too.
In that case, Mr. Mayor, I will motion to introduce ordinance number 0-09-18 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in full in the 414 issue of the 414 Asbury Park Press? 416.
Thank you, that would be correct.
Issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that it will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on 4/28/09 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time in the municipal building.
I would second that.
Ms. Roman, could I please get you to read the title of the ordinance?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell repealing Article 23, Chapter 188-206 in its entirety entitled Uniform Growth-Based Affordable Housing Production of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
Have a roll call, please.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes.
And for the record, the reading says cased. The caption, and we've already made the correction, and it says based, growth-based.
Yes.
Okay. We have some unfinished business. We don't have to I don't know, I don't really don't have many questions on it. Anybody up here? We have public hearing and adoption on April 28th of the fee ordinance. It was already introduced. Repealed chapters 182 of the sewage disposal system. That's going to be a hearing and adoption on April 28th. Create the position of municipal housing liaison. Who may that be? That'll be hearing and adoption on April 28th, but we already found the person.
Without any additional compensation, correct?
With no
That's
additional
correct.
compensation.
No additional compensation.
Remember the structure of the police department to allow for an additional sergeant. I believe that was at the request of the chief. Is that correct, Ms. Schlegel?
Yes, sir. This is a recommendation of the chief due to economic concerns. We're reducing our one middle management position, which would be the lieutenant, to one supervisory position, which would be a sergeant.
Public hearing and adoption on that will be April 28th. Also, amend the land use violations and penalties. Some will be increased. Public hearing and adoption now on April 28th, 2009. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up about them?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
If I could, on the fee ordinance, it's a lot of information, and I just, okay, you have the answer. I had a question. It just seems so low, the firearms in the firearms area. There's a fee for...
Gun permit and identification.
Yes, and I called you today to ask about this.
Right, and it, just so everyone is clear, a lot of the fees that you see that you may think are really low are normally state regulated.
Mhm.
I actually confirmed, I tried calling our police department, but of course everybody had already left by then, or nobody knew
Yeah.
the answer, but online, and that is the state regulated permit. I actually have the backup for you. It's amazing, but you can only charge a certain amount of money for your identification card and your permit, and we have that max. And the same with, as crazy as it sounds, you have your burial permits. Those are regulated by the state, but not, check fees are regulated by the state. And I believe...
dog licenses, too.
Dog licenses are regulated by the state. Not that that's a bad thing, but no, a lot of the fees that you see that are sometimes often quite low are because they are state regulated.
I know that the firearms, the work that the police department does in order to review those identification cards, to do the background checks on those, is tremendous amount of work, and
What was the fee for that?
The gun permit fee is, and the identification fees, that's a set fee.
Yes.
Then you have background check fees.
Yes, I know that.
Okay.
I'm just saying that the ID card, I think was, and I'm going through my memory, which it's 10 out of 10 a night, I'm not sure. I think it was like $5 for the ID card,
Yeah, I
correct?
believe it, actually.
And
it
then,
was.
and the permit, as I recall, to purchase was somewhere around $10. My point was just that seemed to me very low. I understand that the background check is an additional fee. Nevertheless, you're making an application to police departments. It's certainly I just think it should be increased, but as I understand now, that's not within our hands.
That's correct.
Yeah, no, I would probably like to increase the fee.
But we
Become
cannot.
a fee generator.
No, but we can't.
I was just trying to get a number. Off the top of your head, what's the total number then? Because I didn't see that in the backup. I mean, if you want to go get a gun permit, what's the check you got to write?
Hang on. You gotta get fingerprinted, that's gotta be extra, that you don't get anywhere to that.
Come on, prosecutor.
Well, I was not.
Second Amendment right.
She saw them when they didn't go through the process.
Yes, I handled many applications and they were denied as a prosecutor, but the point was just that the initial application fee seemed to me low, and I understand it's regulated by state. I just wanted to get clarification on that, and you have provided that.
Do you have enough clarification, Nick?
I have a lot of clarification. I appreciate it.
I was just trying to find out if a gun fee costs less than what we charge these coaches to get fingerprinted every year.
Well, that fee is set by the state.
By the state? Okay. Anybody else?
I want the NRA.
All right. I need to open the meeting back open to the public. Don't need to do any readings, anything like that? Ms. Woolman? I didn't think so. I just wanted to check on you while you're drinking your tea.
Before we go into the public portion, I have a motion, and that's with regard to the MRSA representative and the removal from last meeting, and I would make a motion to reinstate Mrs. Weitengruber onto MRSA.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that. I wasn't here for that vote. I was unaware until the next day that it had occurred. But I will second it based upon what I understand from a procedural perspective. There are some issues, and we need to be cautious about things.
Okay. Have a roll call, please, Ms. Woolman.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Based on the Deputy Mayor's explanation, I'll vote yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to open the meeting back open to the public. First person, Karen Molina. Number 1 and 2 spoke earlier, and them and Elvis have all left the building.
Okay. Karen Morlino, Peachstone Road, Howell. I have 3 items. The first one is the ORC, which I wrote on there.
Karen, I can't hear you.
The ORC?
There you go.
Ms.
You're good,
Kelly,
Karen.
you can't hear her.
We are soon approaching our 4th meeting of the year.
Okay.
We have yet to have an official meeting because we do not have a quorum of members. We only have 2 members on that committee. 2 of the members that never applied, so they don't know to come because one of the members doesn't live in town, hasn't lived in town since December. 1 never applied, and 1 resigned. So that leaves 2, myself and Donna Miller. And we cannot have a meeting until we have more members.
I'm sorry, what?
The Ordinance Review
Okay.
Committee.
Okay.
I'm starting to think that maybe this is going to be abolished because nothing's happening with this.
I actually feel that a question from Donna, who is the one member that I know of that was on the committee who actually met the second night that we were scheduled to meet.
Right. I was away on vacation. I wasn't here for that
And
meeting.
I don't think she actually knew that you were actually still going to serve on the committee, or
Oh,
if
yes,
you
she-
intended to serve at that time.
Oh, yes, she did.
indicated-
Okay.
No,
At the
she-
time, she indicated to me that she wasn't sure if you were still doing it.
That was Michelle Flaherty, not me.
Okay.
Okay.
Either way, that there's a whole list of people that are on the ordinance review committee. I was unaware until last week when Donna said to me, here's the list, and she said, well, this person's not here, this person's not doing it. And I had asked our deputy clerk, well, if that's the case, then what do we do?
Yeah, because right now we only have 2 members.
We have no new applications, so there's got to be lots of people who put that they,
Okay.
alternatives, so
Let's go here. Ms. Wong, will you please give us a list of all the people that applied for the Ordinance Review Committee?
There
back
are
in
none.
November, December last year?
Have got to be people who say they're willing to
They're
serve
going
on
to any
anything. Any committee.
Christopher Campbell doesn't live in town, so he obviously can't stay on this committee.
Well,
He
hold
was
on. Go one at a time, I'm sorry. Would you please?
Chris Campbell. There were 5 people that were put on in January. I was one, Donna Miller, John Lebrio, Chris Campbell, and Michelle Flaherty.
Okay.
Chris Campbell never reapplied because he doesn't live in town. He lives in Jackson.
How would we know
Michelle Flaherty, because he never applied. Michelle Flaherty never reapplied either.
I saw Mr.
Well-
Campbell's name on a.
It's okay.
few
Oh,
different-
hold on. Let's just
And
go
and
here.
Mr. Lebrio resigned.
Let's just go here. Mrs. Wong?
Michelle Flaherty.
Okay,
I don't think
listen,
so.
hold on. Mrs. Woolman, give us a list of everybody who applied for positions that said they would serve at any committee we'd like them to serve for. Could you also...
Actually, Chris Campbell said if you'd let him, he'd
Hold-
stay.
It's okay.
you want us to go through the applications and see who?
Let's go through the applications. See who applied for committees and said they would
We'll have them ready for the next meeting.
Thank you very much, Ms. Schlegel.
And I
also ask- go ahead.
think we should also ask, it is April, we always have people coming and going on committees because of their obligations or for whatever things change. We should always be soliciting people to volunteer. So I
I'll
don't
put a
see.
call to service on the website.
Put it on
And
the
I would,
website.
and I would think, I'm sorry, I would think some of the folks who have volunteered for the dog committee may also be interested in the ordinance review committee.
Yeah, I think you have about 15 of them, with about 15 waiting to,
I have at least 50.
yeah, you have another 15 waiting to get into the kennel.
We broke bread together on Thursday.
Okay? So that's how we'll approach that.
Okay, the second issue with that committee is that it's scheduled for the fourth Tuesday of every month.
Fourth Tuesday.
And if our attorney is supposed to be there, she can't be there.
We've actually.
So we have to change that
We've
meeting.
actually, the attorney won't be serving on that committee. Councilman Memolo will be serving.
All right, but if we have a council meeting on the fourth Tuesday, do we?
Yes, well, you don't know.
Right, we don't know.
There was a conflict
Ms.
that,
Molina, please.
but I'm trying to
ask-
explain it to you.
All right, but I'm just trying to ask questions so we can get down to the bottom of this. Do we have some meetings on the
Yes,
fourth
we do.
Tuesday of the month?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Councilman Memela can't serve on it all the time either, correct?
Okay.
Okay. Is there any Tuesday of the month that we do not have?
There's no Tuesday that we can guarantee that there won't be a meeting, no.
Okay, so there's no Tuesday of the month that we could guarantee the attorney or the council person could be there every meeting. That's a fact.
Donna Miller and I are willing to change the night. If you change the night, we can come on another night.
Let us check the calendar,
Let us
see
look.
what's available, and, right, and we'll see when Councilman Memolo is available, and then you can change that.
Okay, that's how we'll go about that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Number three, Ms.
Now,
Molina.
I don't know who you would contact about this, because we haven't had an official meeting for us to appoint a person to be the chair. I don't know, unless you want to just continue to contact Donna Miller, who has been giving me all the emails anyway. I don't know how you want to do that.
No, I think, you mean with information?
Yeah, because until we have an official meeting, we can't say
Right.
who's the chair.
I think what we could do is get the information out. It's two of you.
Yeah. well,
So we can get the information to both
Okay.
of you.
I
think
have Donna's contact information, so it's a little bit easier.
I have all the emails that you were going back and forth with her on. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so as long as we have your email and, yeah, and hers, then you guys will get everything.
Okay. The second item, which I wasn't planning on speaking about, but it came to my attention after being here, and I spoke to Ms. Schlegel about it. This is a workshop meeting. And I can remember several years ago when we used to have workshop meetings with the council. It actually was a workshop meeting where the manager at the time would go item by item with the council and explain everything, what they were, and the public knew exactly what was on this agenda. We knew what everything meant. Now the way it is, when Mr. Zixel had to ask you to explain certain ones, and 90% of these I have no clue what they're really about because it's very vague on what it's typed here. So a workshop meeting should be something where you are workshopping it, you're talking about it, you're discussing it. I don't know if any of you understand or know what this is, because I don't, Mrs. Schlegel.
I think what Ms. Morlino is saying is that she feels that each individual resolution or item on there should be looked at and questioned, although some
talked about.
Right, but I do think that some of the information they had done it at discussion. I didn't mention that to you. It's usually first on for discussion, which is what the council did tonight with those various items like the hotel and the 7C items. They'll discuss it. Then it'll be on, listed. If they have further questions at the workshop meeting, it'll be listed, and then it'll be acted upon at the next meeting.
Besides that, we get a book, or they have it all on computer 5 or 6 days before the meeting, We spend a few hours going through it, reading the material.
But the public doesn't know.
No, and
Public doesn't
But
know.
I can't read it to them.
Well, you can't read it to, no, you can't, but you can discuss it, or something could be said about it.
I think we discussed a lot of things up
I mean,
there
something,
tonight,
you know, something could be
I
said about
mean,
it.
I have to say, I think that we workshop, we're actually doing it, we didn't.
I only wish I could have had the meetings, I say, when was Mr. Corrin here, like,
I mean,
10,
because
15 years
most
ago?
of this stuff is, first of all, half of the stuff that's on for resolution, I always ask, why do we have to deal with refunding people's recreation?
Well, that I
fees?
agree with you.
Okay?
That I agree with you.
90% of this agenda is reducing escrows, refunding, maintenance. You know, when there's an issue about a maintenance fee, Councilman Howell is the most notorious for it. He picks them off right away. If it's any applicant that's slightly controversial, if it involves certain developers, he always asks the engineer, "Are you sure we should do this?" You know, just because we don't doesn't mean you know, most of these things we're not going to have questions on, but just about everything else that was of any real substance tonight, we spent quite a bit of time talking about.
And that's why I actually started the meeting saying, and it's something I've discussed, is a lot of our agenda is actually things that aren't on necessarily today, that are the list that I said in the beginning is these are all things that certainly they're going to be on for another date, but a large majority of this is not actually on for discussion. I certainly appreciate you coming to us and saying, hey, listen, we want to get to know, we want to know what you're talking about, and can we do it better? I absolutely, you know, maybe we can. But I do think that the Deputy Mayor is absolutely right, that the things that are important and the things and the details of the things that we are actually deciding on and making decisions on, we went through a long discussion about the hotel, about
tonight
the zoning change.
you did that tonight, because it's something that Mrs. Dixell asked you, I don't know if you were going to do it anyway, but she asked you to, you know, she named the ones that she
But,
wanted.
I mean, I don't know if you were here for the dog ordinances or the, I mean, I think a lot of our meetings have been our tattoos. I mean, and I understand that you come here and today maybe it seemed like things were brushed over, but we went into a lot of detail. It's 10:30 and, you know, being new to council, I spent a lot more time probably than anybody else because trying to get through this, but I really am impressed with the effort on everybody to try to get all this information and get it right. With that being said, I certainly appreciate the criticism or the constructive thoughts.
I didn't want it to be criticism. I just want to be able to understand what I'm reading, you know,
Well,
what's...
thanks for the compliment.
But I just want to say, Ms. Merlino, I know that you are hanging on to the ordinance review committee. The fact that you're still coming here and saying, I'm here, I want to meet, I want to stay involved, is not something a lot of people do. So I appreciate that and appreciate that you're willing to stick it out because we do not want to dissolve it, and I think it is an important function of this town. I'm sorry, don't gavel me.
Hopefully, if we get it out on the website and get the information out on Channel 77, hopefully we'll get some applications.
The only other item I have is, tonight you had an add-on, and you were saying you were numbering it number 28, and we were all looking like, where is 28?
I didn't see it till I got here also.
I would suggest maybe that if you have a copy of that stuck inside of this.
But we explained that thoroughly.
Yeah, and we all agreed, probably, everyone
Yeah.
here agreed what you were going to do, but no one got to speak about it ahead of time because it
I didn't know about it till
it wasn't added.
All right.
Yeah, just
for the record, this morning, as I was speaking with the manager about the agenda tonight, I had mentioned to her after speaking with, I don't know what his title is over there, Captain in Jackson. Is he the president of the council?
I'm not sure.
Okay. After speaking with him, he had mentioned it to me, and that's why we put it on the agenda to
Yeah, well, it's a good thing.
To oppose it.
It's a good thing, but all I'm saying is just to have a piece of paper there so we could have seen, you know, just to see what the add-ons are.
Thank you again for the compliment, Mrs. Morlino.
Mrs. Morlino, just so you know, that reso is posted on the board. Goes back to the deputy mayor during the budget meeting 2 meetings ago, wanting us to print on both sides of the paper and take the scraps out and print on the side that wasn't printed on. That reso, how many pages?
Many.
The add-on?
Yeah, the add-on reso.
I didn't look at the board.
Yeah, it's like 15 pages.
All action items, Mrs. Morlino, have to be posted on the bulletin board.
I know that, but if you just pick up the agenda and you come in and you sit here, everyone was looking to see where number 28 was, and it wasn't on here.
Okay.
All right.
Mrs. Dixell. Sorry Vince left you. You need a ride home?
No, I have my car tonight. No, they know I like to stay to the end.
Where's Jerry?
Hi, Jerry.
Where's Jerry?
He's not home.
And I just have to ask, I know this is, you're feeling well.
Yeah, pretty good. I guess I am. I'm not going to say I'm not, but I'm.
Well, we were asking about Jerry.
No.
You're looking good, Barbara. You're looking good, kid.
Thank you. I'm trying. Keep busy. Keep busy. A couple of things, and I'm trying to go real fast. Just so you know, I spent a couple of hours today trying to get this discussions and stuff up. The only thing I was able to get is the agenda. Your Adobe Reader on your screen is frozen. I couldn't get it.
I think you
The
need.
website needs to be, no, the website said there was a message.
No, you need a newer version of Adobe.
What's your number?
8.
I have 7.1.
Yeah.
No, it's 8.
We're up to 9. We're up to 9.
You need to get rid of that antique.
Now, then I have to, okay, fine, okay, but I was able to
Mr.
print.
Dixon, Mr. Schlegel, that's available on our website. You can download Adobe 9 right from the
It
website.
will actually prompt you.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, all right, I'm just going to start from the yellow paper first.
Oh, yeah, it says right there at the very first page, please update your Adobe or your.
Yeah, it's okay, thank you. I want to thank the Howell Township PBA for inviting me to the PBA Ball on March 28th for presenting me with a beautiful engraved vase that says the Presidential Citizenship Award presented to Barbara Dixell for your outstanding loyal dedication to our community, March 2009. Thank you all, bless you.
Congratulations, Ms.
Thank you.
Dixell.
I feel very honored that you chose me to receive this prestigious award. I will do what I can to live up to it.
You have.
That's good.
Thank you. Okay, I was really very surprised. I did not expect that. That was very, very nice of them. Historic site. Okay, County Road 524 opposite Adelphia Firehouse. The old barn on the corner there is several hundred years old. It's in very poor condition, but it's for sale and so is the land. Can somebody reach out to anybody or that realty or the owner or something to try and save this historic building because Howell is losing its history. All these historic buildings are going by the wayside. And developers and people are coming in, building and taking stuff down, and all of this stuff is gone.
What is the site again you're talking about?
It's come down Wyckoff Mills Road to County Road 524. It's on County Road 524. It's almost at the corner. It's a historic barn. It's all boarded up. It's near the heating unit place. It's on that. It's across
Where
from
the
the
barber shop
firehouse.
used to be.
By the.
Yeah, it's right where the barber shop was. But
Okay.
down Mount's Corner in Freehold, they saved the building. And they made an art center or something, but they did save the building.
Yes.
So I don't want to see another one of Howell's historic sites go. And God only knows, Pauline and Di know that I presented the councils with paperwork from the Historic State Commission on historic whatever to declare Adelphia a historic area, which has never been done. God only knows where that paperwork disappeared to. Because Adelphia is very
I
historic.
still have that paperwork.
It's very historic.
The Lenape Indians used to hunt there. I remember reading that. Right
We're also
there.
Hankins Hill, where there's a development up there. They swear that there is Indian artifacts up there. I wouldn't doubt it.
I wouldn't doubt it either.
Okay,
I think
now.
they're all over America.
Well, a lot of them were all over here because they used to come here for Howell was so full of water and lakes and streams and lush, plush greenery that the Delaware Indians used to come here, do their hunting and fishing in the summertime, take it back to their teepees in the wintertime and survive that way.
They go back over the Delaware.
That's right, go back to
go.
go. Actually, it wasn't there at that time. Okay, several things.
Barbara,
Okay.
come on.
Yeah, don't rush me, please. You didn't rush Karen, don't rush me. Okay, okay, the hotel ordinance. I do have a book at home that says 45 feet. It's an old Cox book, it's an old SED height requirement, 45 feet. You want me to copy a page out of it for you? I'll be only too happy to give it to you.
Barbara,
From Cox?
Whatever book it says SED height requirement, 45 feet. And I know I remember giving someone a copy of that. I don't know, some old
denying
book.
that there could be a book that
Something that
says
says, one page, height requirement, 45,
but there
3
could be
stories.
other books that say other things.
I don't know, well, I'll copy a thing and give it to somebody.
Thank you very much.
And as far as the site for that hotel was, there was a whole discussion on that when Stanley Boulevard, Northwoods Place, that's residential. That hotel and the roads were coming in off residential streets, which was another reason why, whatever. Well, that's the, whatever. But that was all another reason why these people were so desperately opposed to that, because it was residential in a residential area and coming in off residential streets. Okay, now for one statement about these developers that feel like they want to come here. Just don't leave yourselves open to setting a precedent that where every developer in God's earth is going to decide to come to this council and bypass the boards they're supposed to be going to. Go to where you belong first, then come here. Okay, next. I need to ask a couple of questions. I'm not happy about something, and I'm going to make it public. I need to ask, why is the Board of Education of Howell Township proposing a $12.5 million budget? That's the highest it's ever been. Why did they add $109,000 for after-school courtesy busing when the student enrollment is dropping? There are many empty classrooms. The State Department of Education figures written say that the Howell Board of Education is $12.5 million over adequate, which means they spend too much.
Mayor, that's been 5 minutes.
Come on.
Okay, you didn't.
Barbara, Ms. Dixell, you know we have nothing to do with.
I understand that.
Oh, excuse me, ma'am. You know we have nothing to do with the Board of Ed or its budget. We will not discuss it. We will not answer any of your questions about it. If you have anything else that you would like to speak about right now, about the business of this town council, please feel free to say it. But we cannot and will not discuss the Board of Ed or its budget.
Okay, that's fine. I appreciate it. Councilman Howell, with the fluoridation in the water, is there any medical documentation that says it's not healthy for you? And if there is, can you bring it in when you discuss whatever you guys are discussing putting on the books to put it in whatever ordinance you feel you're doing it, if there's any medical something that says it's not good for you?
Can I just ask Ms.
I
Kingdom?
think it was actually a resolution to the
Oh,
state
okay.
to urging them to not promote or advocate fluoride in the water. It's not
I'm just
an
curious
ordinance.
as to what kind of medical testimony there is that says it's bad for you.
I don't necessarily think it's medical testimony so much as it is a position that people don't have a choice whether or not to have it in. That was what the bill or the
Because once
resolution
it's
was going to urge.
fluoridated, you can't take the fluoridation out before if you don't want to have the fluoride, there's no way for you to take it out. So it's taking away the choice.
I would be happy to provide the legislative history or dialogue on that.
What does fluoridation do for you? What do they think it does for you?
I don't think Ms. Kingdom
It's
can
not our
answer that.
expertise.
Okay. Well, okay, thank you very much.
Dentist, I know, talks about it.
Thank you, Barbara.
Kids aren't supposed to have it, I can tell you that.
Right.
Fluoride. I know about fluoride.
I think kids under a certain age aren't supposed to have
I think 6.
Yeah. I don't know. John doesn't.
Yeah, because you get that medicine you tried like 4.
Mrs. Weingruber?
Suzanne Weingruber, 25 Princeton Drive. I would like to follow up on something Mrs. Merlino brought up, because in fact we had discussed this among ourselves, that the Ordinance Review Committee, pretty much like every other board, committee, and commission of this town, has a residency requirement. The enabling ordinance says the members must be residents. Chris Campbell has made it known that he moved out of town. He did not apply. There's no reason to make him resign from something he didn't apply to. I mean, you could appoint Mickey Mouse. He didn't apply either, and he's not a resident. So I think that needs to be cleared up because the ORC cannot meet. The other thing is on January 20th, 2009, and perhaps Mrs. Clark, being new to the council, did not realize that there was a residency requirement, but she nominated the township attorney to fill Mr. Librio's vacancy. I have the minutes right
That's why
here.
she is no
Okay,
longer
so
serving on the
I would
committee.
hope that either there'd be
I
a
thought I said that. She's no longer serving on the committee.
this is my 5 minutes. I would hope.
Hold on. It's okay. Who's not serving on the
I mentioned before that our township attorney, Ms. Kingdon, is no longer serving
Can I finish
on
my
the
sentence?
ordinance. The mayor asked me a
Ms.
question,
Viker,
I'm
we're just trying
answering.
to-
I know. Let me just finish my sentence.
hold on.
Because I really had something very nice to say
Ms.
about her.
Viker, well, I'm not mad at you. I'm just trying to understand.
Can I finish
Okay.
my sentence? It would be easy to understand.
Okay, well, I'll be the judge of that.
Here's the minutes say that, and what I was going to say before I was interrupted is probably Mrs. Kingdon would probably be the appropriate township liaison because of her knowledge of municipal law. The enabling ordinance doesn't say that it has to be a member of the committee or the council. It only says a township liaison, and I was going to, before I was interrupted, say perhaps what you want to do, I know, and that on January 20th, you also appointed Mr. Memolo as liaison. If Mr. Memolo doesn't want to serve, perhaps Ms. Kingdon can be the liaison because of her knowledge, I'm sure, has a lot more knowledge. And I would hope that either, we see a resignation or just a rescission or something of the motion.
We will discuss that. Thank you.
Good. Okay. I have one other thing. Because, there's issues when there's noncompliance that I could have been tough on this and just filed a complaint. And had Mrs. Clark called me back, I would have told her about this issue of noncompliance, which I'm sure nobody even realizes. I realize it because I teach it in my class. You're all familiar with the state's local government ethics law. You all got forms this week, I'll presume, to fill out. There was a... You didn't get forms to fill out?
What are you talking about, disclosure form?
Yes, the financial disclosure
You've
one.
had it.
April 7th, they
we got it a
went
while
out. Okay, April 7th, they went out.
Yes.
So they're doing the state on the 30th, Mrs. Dalton, with all due respect. However, there was a change last year that became effective September 6th with an implementation date, if you go back into the state papers, of December 6th. There was a 90-day implementation rate. The Division of Local Government Services, who's responsible for the financial disclosure statements, did not issue their advisory until January 20th, 2009. And because it was in a gray area, and I was appointed on September 23rd, for those of you who know, and I'm still filing my local, I'll file a notice here, but regional authorities file, their members file with them, and then that's filed directly with the state, just as county authorities and county colleges file directly with the state also. And I'll be glad to do that. But we talked about it over at Mercer because it was a gray area, and some of you may be wondering why I filed a finance notice in February 2009. I know you have that information. Did anybody say, why'd she file it so early? Because as of January 1st, anybody who, well, actually as of December 6th, anyone who was appointed after that date had 30 days to comply. And failure to comply is a fine up to $500 if the state so wants to put it on upon a complaint from a person. It can also be removal from office. And I'm not here to embarrass anyone, but every individual you named to an appointed spot on January 1st was supposed to have their disclosure in by January 31st. And it includes you, unfortunately, Mrs. Clark. I was going to tell you that if you called me. It includes you, Mr. Walsh, because you're in a new position. Doesn't include Mrs. Dalton because she's still a council member. Mr. Howell has a new position on the planning board. We have a new township attorney. Pretty much everybody you appointed on February 1st was supposed to have these in to the state by January 31st. And the state, I have the local finance notice, I'm going to leave a copy. So I would hope, rather than waiting until the 30th, that we can have the clerk's office call those people who are appointed and say, you know what, you don't have to the 30th. They were supposed to be in 2 months ago, and rather than causing a legal problem for themselves or for the town, I thought I would come and let you know about it. I didn't file a complaint because I did look at the book last week. Yeah, I heard I should have, but I'm a little nicer than that. I did take the time to look at the disclosure book when I was here last week, and I confirmed that none of them are there. So if it would be nice, what do you think? You think maybe we can get some compliance on that?
I'll have to talk to the
Thank you very
clerk.
much for your kindness, Mrs. Vice Gruber. It's appreciated. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
There's one other thing I just want to mention. Before I leave, there's one other thing I want to mention. I want to address in 35-4, or whatever the citation is, why February 1st is there. It is not to give somebody 31 days to declare their residency. The state sewerage law, NJSA 40:14, says that all sewage authorities throughout the state, their year runs February 1st to January 31st. So if on February 2nd someone declares their resident, you can contact Tom Gannon.
Why do you contact Tom Gannon?
Because he wrote the ordinance.
That doesn't make a difference.
Well, I'm telling you that if somebody on February 2nd declares I'm a resident, that goes through to the next year. You need to know that because state law supersedes everything, and that's why February 1st is in there.
Thank you very much, ma'am, again. Your kindness is appreciated. Mr. Smith, even though you're not on the list, come on up. I'm going to get yelled at for letting you speak not being on the list, but...
Don Smith, 54 Vanderveer Road. I hadn't intended to speak, but a few things came up tonight, and I just want to make a couple quick statements. Number one, the Environmental Commission, we're low on our membership. Our alternate member resigned before he even got appointed. I mean, he was appointed and then resigned the same date. So there is an opening for an alternate member on the Environmental Commission.
Do you have any suggestions or any applications?
I don't myself have any applications. I think the clerk's office may want to relook.
Mr. Smith, who resigned?
He didn't resign. Hold on.
I'm trying to remember.
He didn't resign to us, did he?
No, that's what we're asking. We're not aware
Russell or
of it.
something like that, the last name.
Okay, we'll check.
Because I never met him because he never...
I can tell you that there's been a few people that have expressed interest in, just in the public, in your committee, and I would encourage right now anybody who is watching this to get involved because it's a very important committee, and I would like to see a lot of people get involved, and certainly anyone who's hearing this, if we can, if there is an opening, I hope we can see something on the website to get that.
Certainly, we'll add that. Also, Mr. Smith, just so you know, you can have, the Environmental Commission is allowed to have alternate members, but not associate members. There's nothing that...
Our bylaws allow for associate. Did I say alternates or associates?
No, you said alternate, which is fine, but it's not in, if I'm not mistaken, it's not in the ordinance, does not allow for associate members.
Municipal land use law does not allow for associates, they allow for alternates.
Well, associates are appointed by the commission. It was done, I believe it was around 1988 or 89 when those bylaws were
Yeah, but we don't think that
don't
it's
vote.
legal, actually. It's because the land use law does not allow for it.
Okay, then I would appreciate if it is put in writing and
Absolutely,
sent to
absolutely.
the commission, because I don't want to just tell those people.
No, I'll have Ms. Kingdon write that up for you and send it to the environment, get a copy to you.
Okay,
from the
thank you.
Environmental Commission.
Mr. Smith, it's not just because the council doesn't want you to have associate members. I think two of your associate members are members of, or people who think that they're associate members are members of the zoning board. And members of the zoning board can't be members of anything else?
Well, they don't vote, so that was the understanding there with associate members, but
No matter what's been done in the past, let's get it right.
okay.
Okay?
That's why I say, as long as I see it in writing,
no,
and then
we'll
we'll have an amendment done to our bylaws.
Absolutely, we'll get you that.
Okay, thank you. The other thing was, I noticed tonight when Mr. Cohn came up about MAC, I think it might be in your interest to get a copy of Judge Lawson's decision when that was heard, because he pretty well summed it up to the benefit of the neighbors in that area. And it was a very thorough decision, actually exceptionally thorough for Judge Lawson, who on so many occasions has gone against the township. So it is an interesting decision. The other thing that I just want to bring out is what Mrs. Dixell mentioned about historic sites. We have so many historic sites in Howell Township that people don't even realize. But we have no historic element in our master plan to protect those sites. For example, you're talking about the Harwood factory today. Originally, that was the drumhead factory where they made the skins for the drums, the drum heads. We had the Maxim black powder plant over on Maxim Road, where smokeless powder was developed. That barn, of course, the blacksmith shop is gone. Our House restaurant is undergoing renovations. The old section is being completely gutted, all because we have no historic element to protect those sites. They'll be torn down. The Donahue Homestead site on Fairfield Road was lost. I mean, that was a part of a King's grant. I mean,
Can I ask you what specifically, I absolutely 100% agree, but what can we do specifically to deal with this issue?
I'm just saying, for what Mrs. Dixell was talking about, to save that barn, we need a historic element into the master plan to recognize historic sites and protect them.
You know,
We have no element in that plan.
Mr. Smith, I don't disagree with you, but you know, I have for me a very valuable question. You've been involved for a long time. Your wife was on council for a long time. Why wasn't something done 20 years ago?
Actually, a planner by the name of Fred Heyer did draft up an element, but in 1994, I guess it was, when my wife's term was up on council, that element never got adopted into the master plan in that year, and it was just never followed up on afterwards.
Okay.
But the research was done at that time.
Why don't you
Those
try to get us
documents probably still
Can you get us a
exist.
copy of that draft?
If you ever saw the way my wife keeps her files, I probably could, but it would.
I have seen it, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, that's right, you have.
Yeah.
Are you saying she's not very
It's
organized?
a scary thought.
She used to beg for me. Now she wants to poison me.
But that's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
I think it's an excellent idea.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixell. We already heard from you a couple times this evening. Mr. Coffey, you're good? Okay. I'd like to close the public portion of the meeting. Our next regular meeting is Tuesday, April 28th, 2009, executive session at 6:30, regular session at 7:30. Anything else from any professionals?
No, sir.
Anybody else on the council?
You're going to mention the Board of Ed election? It's on the sheet.
Oh, Board of Ed election. Is it on my sheet?
Yes, it is.
Where is that?
Last
The
page,
yeah.
board election, April
School elections are
21st.
next Tuesday, April 21st, from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Please get out to vote. You heard a few reasons tonight from Mrs. Dixell. It is very important to get out to vote. Need a motion to close?
I make the motion.
Mayor?
Give me a roll call.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton? Mr. Howell? Mayor Walsh?
Yes. We're done.